Not working. Hello everyone and welcome to the VR link. How are you all? Let me just get my things up. Cool. Yeah, this is our weekly Sunday virtual reality chat show that gives you and us the chance to sit back and discuss what's been happening in virtual reality. But this week is different. This week we're here to celebrate the 3rd anniversary of PlayStation VR, which launched October 13th, 2016. And we're going to be going through a top 20 list that was built by us, the VR community, and one of the biggest Facebook groups that are dedicated to PlayStation VR. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave a link to that group in the chat below. Sadly, Nat from 7 Degrees of Gaming can't be with us this week, but I'm sure he's going to watch this back when he gets a chance. So allow me to introduce Salsa from Salsa Ketchup VR.
Hey, everybody.
Lincoln Clay from Lincoln Clay 670.
What's up, everybody?
And to help us celebrate one of the best known virtual reality headsets, I thought we'd get one of the best known virtual reality YouTubers and the only guy I've ever personally met to sit in a time traveling DeLorean. It's Nathie.
Hey, what's up?
How you doing, man? Thank you for joining us and doing this. Really appreciate it. And in the background at the moment, man, we've got his video going where he done his. If you haven't seen this video, it's really cool. I'm quite a big fan of Back to the Future, and to be in that, man, what was that like seeing that car? It must have been sick.
Yeah, like I still can't believe I did this photo shoot in the first place. If I see the video now, I'm like, yeah, I would totally like to relive that day for sure.
And the fact they gave you, and they had an aim controller. I was like, there's a bloody aim controller.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, first of all, getting a DeLorean is quite rare because most of them that are still driving around are just stock ones. And a Back to the Future replica, you kind of need to rent one. So this one came out of Belgium, I think. Right. This guy drove it all the way to Amsterdam. And I had this location where we would put it in the middle of like this factory, this old factory. We had like a fire watch there for the smoke.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want it to have the whole place on fire. So there was like an entire crew around it making it happen. And this DeLorean had all the signatures in there from the actors of the movie because they actually set in the car themselves.
Oh man!
And it had all the sound effects. It even had like a taser on top that worked. So yeah, it was like a proper replica, not just a half-baked fan-made car. Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible, and there's a film actually. It's just gone on Netflix about John DeLorean, about a story about the car itself. That's actually a really good film, and I can't remember the name of it for the life of me, but it is on Netflix, and it's bloody good. So, welcome everyone in the chat. Who have we got? We've got Steve Drumheller from Conquer Reality, German Rifter, Robin Schuler, Keith Hunt. Nice. How you doing, guys? Oculus Quest Fun. Excellent stuff. Hard to get. Shh, Turtle. How you doing, man? So, I've sent these guys the top 20 list so they know what's going to be coming up. But before I wanted to do that, what was your first experiences of PlayStation VR? What is if we want to go with Nathie first, man? What was your first game, for example, in PlayStation VR? Because you probably did you get to try it before it launched?
I did not get to try before it launched, but I did see a lot of stuff, popping up when it was still called Project Morpheus, where everyone was like, we're not sure what this is gonna be. And then I actually found this. This is what they sent me before it was out. It was like this. It's basically a press kit with all the information in there.
Yeah.
And when you then open it, it's kind of tight. So then you had like this little thing that I've never showed this before, by the way. So this is quite
exclusive, dude. It's exclusive.
Yeah. So they had like this, picture that is moving. I don't know if you can see it, but
yeah.
And then inside they were just explaining you like, hey, what is this headset all about? They show you like the prototypes with Shuhai on there. Like, hey, this is what we have been, doing for the past few years. And then you also got like what is it? Like a few cards for like games that you could activate. Third party, first party, and then also this poster.
Oh, don't rip it, dude. Don't rip it. That is sweet.
And then on the back, like the setup.
Nice.
So you could set it all up and get started in VR. So that's like the first thing I got from Sony before I got like the PlayStation VR. And yeah, the first game I played was, of course, I think for many back in those days, because there wasn't that much to play just yet, was PlayStation Worlds.
Yeah,
I think I
PlayStation VR
dove
Worlds.
into London Heist because they were advertising with that a lot and it just looked super badass.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember sitting on that chair and this guy, almost beating me up, and this realistic, figure in front of you. Yeah, it was amazing. It was super cool. For me, of course, I played VR before, so it was a little bit different than someone who dives into VR for the first time. But it was still impressive how it looked. Like, you could just see like, hey, PlayStation is not just a console; it can really pull off some impressive stuff.
Yeah, I think the London Heist in particular, graphically, I mean, actually, a lot of them games on that still stand up today. There's like, yeah, they still look fantastic. So go on in, South. What was your thing, man?
First game I actually played on the PSVR was Rigs.
Yeah.
It's one that I've been looking forward to. I thought it looked super slick. I like my anime. I like my big robots. I liked the idea of an arena combat and mixture of sort of like doing straight up combat or that bit where you become like the basketball in combat, as it were. So I was like, yeah, that's going to be the first one I try. There was, of course, a second game that was also, I was very much, do I play this one first? Because it's like childhood fantasy come real. Or do I play this one first? And I sort of like ended up going with Rigs first.
Right, okay.
Of course, that's a mixed bag as well, because there was a lot of stuff that happened with Rigs. The intro was really, really long.
The intro was long, and they cut it out of the main game as well because it was making everyone sick. Because I remember that. I remember basically there was a bit where you're standing there and you're... Because it sounds stupid, right? There's no... It was my first experience. And I looked down and I had a body and I thought I could move... It sounds stupid. I thought I could move my body, man. I'm like, well, I'm not moving. This guy's standing like that. And then this robot come along, picked me up and then put me inside the rig. Yeah, that was like the intro thing. And I remember feeling a bit of vertigo. A bit of like, crap. Like, I've left the floor. Do you know what I mean? That was cool.
That's really an awesome bit. But the other bit about it was that actually blew me away, and I don't see too many do it as well still, is the character animations. Like when you're in the jet after a game or before the game, you've got your teammates there and they're like, yeah, what's up? Come on. We're going to do it. We're going to win, And you'll be like, you'll look across at them. The animations are so well done and so crisp that you actually do feel pumped by it. That it took you, and it's sort of like when you know where you are, you're in the reel, you look back there, you've got this giant, great big machine that you're about to be in with your teammates, and that's it. And like when you came off at the end of a game, and you're sitting there in the jet, in the little private jet, and the other guys are there with the cup and going, yeah,
Yeah, it was.
and you sort of like look across and you're like, yeah. And that was the really great bits about it that I loved about that game. And then you have a few other developments that come along. But there's a bit of sadness as well connected to that game because it was too early in the cycle for that game. I think it was, it was a launch title. It had more to do to come along. And it's now in a situation where it's perpetually unfinished.
Yeah, I would have wished they would have took the sport out of it. I wish it would have just been like if you'd have just had a mech on mech killer game because it had weapons and stuff. I thought that would have been a great addition to it because
I think they quit like development, right? I think it just
Guerrilla,
got cancelled
wasn't it?
in a way.
They stopped it. There was like I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks left until they actually finished the planned upgrades to the game.
Yeah.
And they cut the entire studio.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is a point of sadness for me. Because I think it's still one of the best examples of what you can get out of a PlayStation 4.
Yeah, visually, dude, it still looks good.
It's weird though. Like last week I was in the store and I saw them selling this game. Well, as far as I know, if you buy it and you go in there, there's no one to play with.
No, no.
Because
It's all.
are the servers still up?
I
Yes,
think
they
so.
are.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, but because they're not selling it online anymore, right? You also decrease in like a player base because online you can't play it anymore in like the online store.
Yeah,
Or
you
can
can't
you?
buy it. You can only. I think. I thought it was still
Physical
available
only.
online. I think it was Drive Club was the one they took away from
Oh.
the store, isn't it? On digital, and you can
Yeah.
get that.
Away from the store on there.
Is that the same for Rigs? I didn't know that. If that was the case, it might be.
Rigs. They're not on Rigs, but you can still play Rigs. Rigs
check
is
now.
supported by Gorilla
Okay.
still. So
Nice.
Gorilla hasn't shut down servers and has no plans to. So you can still go on there and play. It's just obviously it's such an old game that people that come along don't necessarily know about it. So it's
Yeah.
in some ways it's one of those hidden gems.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because it is an amazing experience.
But imagine if it became successful, what Guerrilla would have made for the last few years for VR.
I know. If that's what they come out with in the beginning, what the hell did they come out with later on? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Star Blood Arena that got its server shut down.
Yeah, Starblood Arena, right, on paper, if a PlayStation VR game come out and they went, right, these are the features of this game, people would be like, wow, that sounds amazing. Do you know what I mean? And it's really weird that when you play Rush of Blood, it actually, like, it's quite a challenge for some people because it gives you that full 360 movement. You know what I mean? It's like 8 players, multiplayer, loads of different characters, great graphics again. And then, yeah, they've taken it
It
away.
means Star Blood Arena, not Rush Blood there, by the way.
Yeah, Starblood Arena, yeah. Did I say Rush of Blood?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, man. Yeah, Starblood Arena. I know Lincoln said Starblood Arena. So what about you then, Lincoln? What was your first game in there? Because I know you got a story about a time you actually bought it for your son. That was the whole thing how it started. You went to a store and you experienced it like that.
Yeah, Best Buy and GameStops, they were doing weekly demos. So I was taking my son to Best Buy every weekend to sample the demos of the PlayStation VR, and he asked for one. I bought it day one, hid it in a closet covered with blankets. He gave it to him on Christmas. So my first games that I experienced were like Battlezone from the Best Buy demos, but what really stood out to me was the demo disc because it had everything on there, a sample of Drive Club, Rigs, Resident Evil, and several other games. And that's when I was like, wow, this stuff has a lot of potential. In fact, the Drive Club demo had me thinking of what I could do. You know, it was like, okay, if I do this, I got to get a racing wheel. I was one of those racing cage with the hydraulics where the cage moves around and everything. All that stuff. I wanted to go all out because that was amazing playing the Drive Club demo, going down the street doing 200 miles an hour and actually feeling like you're in that car and, you know, actually in the middle of the race. So that was what showed me how much potential that VR has. But I would probably say that Farpoint is the game that made me say I'm here to stay.
Farpoint again. It's weird. I was playing. So last night I done like a live stream going through all different games that people wanted to play, and they made me do Creed, which was like had me like saturated, man. But it was weird that someone said something like, "How come a lot of the earlier games are still not bettered?" Do you know what I'm saying? And funny enough, when we get to the top 20, one of them in there, some of them I think are pretty obvious, but you got to sort of look and think, hold on, like these games have been out quite a while and they're still holding. Do you know what I mean? They're still up there in the high quality range, and people hold them in high regard. Yeah, so like I was saying earlier, man, my experience was I went to London Tobacco Docks in April 2016 to try PlayStation VR. Funny enough, Oculus Rift was there and HTC Vive, and I'd never heard of them before this. I think I might have heard of Oculus, but I hadn't heard of HTC Vive. But what I did do was when I found out they was there, it was find out the price of these other headsets, and I was like, dude, I can't go there anyway. It doesn't matter. I can't get a PC and stuff because I've done the PC thing and I gave up on them. The blue screen of death killed me, and then yeah, I didn't have it in me to go back. I was like, I am staying away from PCs, and yeah, as I said, it was Rigs, Battlezone, but London Heist was the one, man, because I was sitting there in that van with that guy going down the road, and one of my favourite games online at the time was Grand Theft Auto, or Grand Theft Auto in general. And just I remember thinking, I'm going to open this door and try and throw myself out the van as he's going down the road. And I opened the door and I thought, no, there's no way I'm doing that. Close the door. I was like, there's no way I'm jumping out this van in VR. And it was things like that made me think, Jake, this is the next level. This is like, for me, what reignited my passion in gaming. And I didn't realise it was going to be VR. Do you know what I mean? I always thought it was going to be the next Battlefield or the next Call of Duty or something like that. And it ended up being, for me, PlayStation VR. And that's what's led us or me down to where we are today, talking to you guys. So, yeah.
I'm just going to say, you got cold yogurt as saying, "Hey, Nathie, how's the teacup rights?" Of course.
They say that I think they say that on the show, don't they? The F Reality.
Oh, Robin.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. Robin dropping $100 in the chat.
Oh.
Holy moly!
Thank you ever so much, Robin. Thank you very much. I can't
Big
thank
thumbs
people
up for
enough.
that one.
Yeah, I can't do thanks enough when like money like that. What do you do? Do you know what I mean? Thank you very, very much. It's crazy. Yeah. So how are the teacups, Nathie? How is that?
It's because like when I'm not on the podcast, they use these images, and I was at Disneyland the last time, and they probably used the same picture again.
Yeah,
so
they did.
so people thought I was at Disneyland again to have fun, but that's sadly not true.
Yeah, that is sadly not true because Disneyland is wicked.
I know, right? I know.
I was hoping that somebody would ask you.
Man, I hate the teacups. Is it the teacups where like you sit in them and you get to spin them in the middle?
Yeah, the little wheel in the middle. Yeah.
Oh man, I get like really overzealous doing that, and in the end I just make myself feel ill, so it's not good. Who else we got in the chat? Anyway, Robin, thank you ever so much for the donation. Hello, Mick, Papa Chicken, how's it going? Who else we got? We got Boy Brown, Ace McLeod. That is a very cool name. TGK, nice guys. So let's jump into this top 20. Let's start with obviously 20, and I know you guys have know what's coming up, but I thought this would be a little bit higher in the charts. It's a Doom VFR. I thought it would be a little bit higher, just due to the fact of the classic Doom levels. I don't know if you guys have experienced them in virtual reality on this game.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, so what do you think about this being 20, dude? And obviously, what is your favourite control method as well? Because first time last night was the first time I used the moves, because everyone was saying it's really immersive with the moves, and it was actually really good.
Yeah, I used the moves first. Definitely, I was sort of like, I think that's going to be best. See, a lot of people at the time still had problems with getting used to move mechanics with the moves and the lack of the thumbsticks, which of course is a big thing about PlayStation. I know we're going to talk about it later, but with something like that, having your hands in there properly was good, because otherwise they had this hanging hand that would be
the grenade launcher
thing in the head movement, and it's like, look, if you're not firing with a gun and you've only got one hand like an aim controller when you're using that, I don't understand why they don't keep the arm down out of the way and then animate it in place when you're going to fire another weapon.
Yeah, I didn't really get the grenade launcher. What was your thoughts on this game, Nathie? Did you enjoy it?
I thought it was pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing that I thought was quite overwhelming were like the controls for people who are new. Even that, yes, there was teleportation in there, but there were so many buttons to, play around with. But yeah, it was satisfying. I mean, the teleportation, and then in combination with this, like, brutal attack. I don't know how it's called again.
Yeah. But that actually made teleportation a weapon, which is...
Yes, exactly. So then it was more than just, teleportation, and it became a part of the game. And I think that's something I haven't seen much in VR games since then.
Yeah, agreed. What about you, Lincoln? I wish this got multiplayer, by the way.
In the case of Doom VR is the first time I experienced any kind of Doom game. And the controls...
Did you just say you've never played Doom before?
No. So when I played it in VR, that was my first time experiencing any kind of Doom game. And yes, those controllers were a little bit weird, but more than anything, that game came along at a bad time for me, because it was at a time where I was getting deeper and deeper into VR, especially the PlayStation VR. And it was like, you show me a game and I pop in there for about 5 minutes. Is it immersive? Is it interactive? and then it's like, okay, it is it. Let me see the next one. So it was like I was wanting to see every single game in the library to see how good it is, to see how interactive it is. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad game. I think it just came at a time where I was like, you know how you want to taste every ice cream in the parlor.
Yeah, man. I know
So
that.
that's what VR was to me at the time that Doom came out.
Yeah, it was the same. Like any game that launched in a certain window, probably the first 3 months, I purchased. Yeah, every time, because you just couldn't get enough. And when it goes to launch titles as well, I think it was Batman, PlayStation VR Worlds, and Batman. Like I'll never forget Batman. That was absolutely insane on launch day.
Well, that's coming up there, isn't it?
It is coming up. I know. I shouldn't talk about it. I do apologise. Who else have we got in the chat now? We've got Reckon of VR. How's it going, man? Sorry about the VR Roundtable 360. The final episode went up. I think it was last week. So yeah, that's a shame to see that go, man. But I'm glad you're in the chat, dude. Thank you for joining us. Who else have we got that I might have missed? I think we've got Papa Jig in. Midlife, how's it going, dude? So, at 20 was Doom VFR. At 19 is exactly what we were just talking about, dude. This is crazy.
Yeah.
What?
He's
Okay.
Batman.
Seems legit.
Yeah,
Right.
it somehow lined up into that.
Yeah.
It did. That was kind of. I thought it was either being a mad genius or completely fluky as absolutely anybody's business.
Do you know, I'll be honest, it was fluke. I know you think I'm making it up, but I actually have forgotten some of this top 20. That was pure fluke. Tell me about your best moments from this game, because I know I've got 2 or 3, but what were, like, because one of the things I got annoyed about, right, was when I saw people trying this, they were getting the Batman ears to stick on top of their PSVR headsets.
Yeah.
And I always wanted some of them, and I can't seem to buy them, and I don't know where to get them, but they seem to be giving them out to people, or just using them for the demos.
Yeah, they did do that. You saw that a lot. There was, like your overhead headphones.
Yes.
There are a pair of overhead headphones that have bat ears in them, and that's what they were using.
That's what I want. That's what I want every time I play this game. So yeah, what are your thoughts on this one, then, Nathie?
Yeah, Batman. It's been a very long time ago. I played that one.
Yeah.
I liked it. But like the thing is, this is also one of those titles that came out so long ago that from like if you would judge it now based on what we have experienced in VR, it wouldn't be that good. But based on when it did launch, it was awesome because again, it was very, very friendly for people that were new to VR. You could just teleport around. It wasn't like super action packed, but it did make you feel like Batman. I remember, you going into that elevator and then gearing yourself up and putting the mask on, and then you could see yourself. This was also something that you couldn't really experience that much. Look into a mirror and wear something. And then I also remember, getting trolled by the Joker.
Yeah,
it was also amazing. I think it's like somewhere at the end of the game, but it's great. Yeah, so the atmosphere and everything got nailed, but you couldn't, for example, ride the Batmobile in a super satisfying way. It was all kind of a little bit arcadey in that sense. And I think that if people would play, let's say, the second half of the game, they would be like, wow, this is freaking epic. But the first part was kind of slow. It was more like, hey, I'm Batman the detective and not Batman the, what we usually see him do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's 2 sides to a Batman fan. I think they do see it as a detective story, because one of my friends come around and he not once, he played it right through. Like when someone invite round, they go, do you want to try VR? And then they just forget you're there. They're just playing the game, and you're like, I might as well just leave now, because he ain't stopping playing this. He loved that. He was like, I really felt like a detective. I really felt like... He never once said, there weren't no action. He was gutted about not driving the Batmobile. I think everyone is gutted about the fact that you can see it, pick it, and then all you do is go black and just hear the noise of...
Yeah, you can hear it. Yeah.
And you're like, oh.
You don't even get to ride in the passenger seat. That's the thing,
You can ride in the passenger seat and be Batman.
I know, but it could have autopilot. It's the Batmobile after all. It's got autopilot.
I know what you're saying. It is absolutely sick though. This was another one I played yesterday, and that bit when you go into the Batcave is still absolutely incredible. You played this one, Lincoln?
Absolutely. The Batman Arkham is the first game that left me upset for being good. Because I absolutely love that game. On the DC side, Batman is my favorite superhero. So to be able to put that cowl on and move around in that mirror and see yourself as Batman, to be inside that what looked to be a nut house and the Joker's trolling you, that was creepy. And but the story, I thought the story was great, and I was upset because I thought the game was too short, and it left you with too many questions. And it's like, we gotta have a sequel. If we don't get a sequel to this game, I will probably remain upset.
And are you
this
still
is a
upset?
Game I definitely want a part 2.
Are you upset? Are you upset today?
Every time I think about that game, every time I pull it out, I can't think about that game without thinking that I want part 2. If we don't get part 2, I will be disappointed.
I just remember, like, I took 3 days off to play PlayStation VR from work. And I probably spent far too many hours in it, like 6-7 hours every day, which actually kind of makes your brain a bit funny after a while when you come back to reality. That last bit that Nathie's talking about, where the Joker, he basically everything's just twisted. He appears, and I think at one point you become the Joker, or your eyes turn into the Joker's eyes.
They only said they haven't opened that up yet, and you've just spoiled it for them.
Oh man, that's fine. That trashed me. That absolutely trashed me. And I remember taking the headset off. You know, like in the adverts, the cheesy adverts, where people come out and go, oh, that's what I was like, but no one was there. I was like, and no one was around.
It was creepy, but I also had to remember that I'm Batman and he fears nothing. So I couldn't let myself be scared of all that creepy stuff that was going on in there.
I can't believe you just told everyone you're Batman. Like, surely you're not allowed to tell everyone you're Batman. Do you know what I mean? Jesus, what are you playing at? Right, number 18 is I thought this would be a bit higher up. Is Trover Saves the Universe. I thought, I can't play the audio to this, by the way, because we don't swear on this channel. And when I watch this trailer, it's just full of swearing all the way through, which makes it fantastically funny. And if you haven't played this, I think you definitely should. It's quite a unique game. So what's your thoughts on this one, boys?
Well, this is one of the things, because this is the only game on this list that I don't own.
Oh, okay. They just have free DLC for this as well. Just drop.
It's literally at the time when this was released, which wasn't that long ago, the backlog of stuff I've got going on was so big, and I had and I still got a problem with my ears going on, so I can't play as much VR and different things like that as I want.
Yeah.
So, because it's just like too much. So this is one game that are on this list, the only game on this list that I am yet to play.
Dude, you just turn your camera off, man. Have a quick go. Come back. Let us know how you get on. Yeah?
I've watched other people streaming it and stuff, and say, I know the sense of humour's there.
Are you a fan of Rick and Morty, anyway?
I never got into Rick and Morty. I look more at this and would go, yeah, I find that funny.
Okay.
Because I do find that off-center sense of humour funny, but it's one I'm yet to dive into.
Dude, like, you should definitely check this out. And Nathie, you actually met with the developer, didn't you?
Yeah, I know them very well. We're very good friends. And I also got to play the game for the first time with Justin Roiland sitting next to me, doing the voices while they were also doing the voices in the game. It was like this weird Inception moment. Yeah, it was super funny. It was super funny, and he knew a lot about. Of course, like Squanch Games is, he owns that for a part. He's very involved with that too. So it comes from his mastermind, as they say. And yeah, it's super random. It's a super random title.
What made him get into VR? What made them want to do this in general? Because I think the first one was Accounting Plus, wasn't it? That was their first Squanch Games, wasn't it?
Yes. I think it's because Justin has been playing VR for a while. He was Job Simulator is one of his favorite games.
Yeah.
So he just got to play around with that. And I think he even has some videos on the internet of him, trying VR early. So yeah, no, it's interesting what they have made so far.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you played this one, Lincoln?
No, I have not, but it is a game that I have kept my eye on. I am curious about it, um, but I have to be honest, given what's going on right now with the games that are out right now, in my busy schedule, I'd have to squeeze it in there. But I am curious about it.
Nice. I was just going through some of the chat here. You got Cold Yogurt. Trover says the Universe is my #1 game of 2019. He platinumed it. That's what I'm saying. So that's why I was a bit, I don't know, put back by the fact that this is quite high up in the top 20 because a lot of people are very passionate about this game. It's made a big impact on them as well, and it is a unique game. There's nothing else really like this in virtual.
It's one of the only seeded experiences that got launched this year. Plus, it's also one of those titles that is a third-person platformer, but also is first-person, and that's a genre that you don't see that much. And in this case, they nailed it.
Yeah. Agreed. So that was number 18. Let's go to 17. I was not surprised this is in the top 20, but this seems very hit and miss, and that is Tetris Effect. On VR, obviously, because I think it was an exclusive PlayStation VR for a while, and now it's on PC VR as well. I've yet to try it in PC VR personally. So yeah, this game, for me, I thought it was amazing. When I done my 24-hour charity live stream, this was the second to last game I did, and I think because I was so tired, I entered another level of playing this game. I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming that's where they want you to go with the sounds and the music and the colours.
They do.
Because, dude, I was playing it.
Okay.
I was playing it, man, and I was doing really well, and I didn't even know I was sort of playing it. I was just in the zone, as they say.
So, Oh yeah, it's exactly where you're supposed to go with this game. Though, if you've got a sub pack or something like that, so that you can feel the music and have the whole thing reverberate through your entire being, then that's definitely the way to go for this game. Nice. But you're definitely supposed to have your mind melt away into the background and just become the Tetris, as it were.
Become the Tetris.
Become the Tetris, the Tetri, or what they called the.
I don't know, man.
Tetraminos. You're
That's
supposed
it? Tetraminos, yeah.
And think only in Tetraminos. So every single problem in the universe can be solved with Tetraminos.
So I played this before launch, and it was the same comments were, it's just Tetris. Why is everyone going mental? It's just Tetris. And, and I think it was quite an expensive game when it launched. I think it was in the £35 plus range. And I've found, unless a game is quite special, it can be kind of rejected a little bit when it comes to that. A bit like Space Junkies, for example. Absolutely amazing game, but people were like, dude, you got to do more than that for that sort of cash in VR. So yeah, so how are we feeling about Tetris?
Yeah, I think the problem with this title is and was that from a pancake perspective, it just doesn't look that exciting. Right. And then when you're in VR, it's actually a total different story because there is depth to it and there's much more going on. The rhythm is pulsing while you're playing. The better you play, the deeper you go.
Yes.
Yeah, I think there are more VR titles that just simply didn't do that well because they can't sell themselves on a flat, screen when people see them in a store or. So yeah, no, it's a nice game. Maybe, yeah, it was a bit expensive. Also, Tetris is such an old, game that people are like, yeah. So what's new then, right?
Yeah, I bet everyone had it on a Game Boy.
Yeah, so maybe in terms of marketing, they could have done better, and then maybe it would have ranked higher as well in this list.
Yeah, and I think you're right, dude. Being that is one of the biggest problems with virtual reality, and that's where the Quest comes in. I'm just going to touch on the Quest quickly. Is it's easy to share VR as watching something on a flat screen, because actually PlayStation had it right at EGX. They had the player here, the headset here, and then the social screen facing away. So that was really cool. So you had a little screen for you, but a big screen for anyone walking by. Do you know what I mean? And like it was titles like Wipeout. That I think Wipeout and Beat Saber were the two most popular games there, and they had Astro Bot. That was before launch. Something else, because Wipeout looks amazing, obviously, and everyone knows what it is. And yeah, Beat Saber, that looks fantastic, using lightsabers to chop stuff up. So yeah, sorry, Sals, you was going to say, man.
I was going to say it's it's a Maigichi game, so it's that whole rhythm thing. You're talking about the person who created Res Infinite here, and Luminous, and it plays into everything that he does. The expense is, I think, a part of, unfortunately, the Japanese creators on these games, where they spend a lot of attention to detail, because the detailing on this game is absolutely spot on. There's nothing out of place. There is, it's immaculate in those terms. And unfortunately, it attaches the price that attaches to a Japanese development studio at the same time, and they're always on the upper end of the price in general. There are exceptions. Generally, I think a lot of the Japanese games can be a bit higher.
Yeah, I think because it was a flat game, maybe. I mean, at the end of the day, it was a flat game with PlayStation VR support. That's how it was sold. So I guess when it was boxed on the shelf, they're seeing it as a just traditional PlayStation 4 game with a massive potential cult following. There's your £35 mark. But for everyone in VR, was like, why do I need this in virtual reality? That's probably what it was. Because they're not going to buy it to play it flat. They're going to buy it just to play it in VR. So, do you know what I mean? Talk to me, Lincoln. How you doing?
Doing all right. Tetris Effect, I thought it was expensive. But I went ahead and gave it a try anyway. And after I tried it, I think Tetris Effect feels like, this is probably a crazy description of it, but I think it feels like a warm bath in VR.
Sorry,
Soothing.
did you say a warm bath?
Yeah, when you take a warm bath, when you just want to relax and just like, it's soothing, it's relaxing, the music is great. And it's one of those games for me that when I come home from a hard day's work, and I just want to unwind and do something relaxing, but be entertaining at the same time, I think that's what Tetris Effect does for me. It's rather relaxing. And if you're stressed out, I think it takes a little bit of that edge off of you too.
Yeah, I actually agree. I think another thing, like not only the visuals, the music and the sound are fantastic in this game. So TGK is asking, is Tetris worth $18.99 on sale? For me, it's a yes.
Yeah. For me, if you want something to chill out and you are the type of person to get into games, then yeah, just because of the chill out factor. But it's still a little, some people may still even see that price as too much.
Nathie does, I think. I can see him going.
It's just one of those that's very specific audience. I don't know. Does PlayStation handle like a refund system in that case? If you could try it and no, so you buy it and then you're okay. If that was the case, then I would just recommend people to be careful when they consider it. But usually it's nice to be able to try something you have never tried before, and then if you don't like it, you can still refund it.
Yeah, absolutely, especially in virtual reality.
Exactly. Yeah.
The PC version, we can do that.
Yeah, what's up, Lincoln? What you saying, man? Oh.
Oh no, I didn't say anything. I saw somebody in the comment. I think it was Turtle says, "Who recommends PSVR as a second headset?" And I was going to type me in the chat, but since they can hear me, yes, definitely recommend PSVR as another headset or starter headset, whichever way you want to look at it. But I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. I think if you've got a PlayStation 4, it's a no-brainer. Like, you can pick them up second-hand for £120.
Also, it's kind of weird if you don't have a PlayStation in this day and age.
Yes, it's true. What is it? Is it 100 million they're on now? Was it they said?
There's something like that. Yeah.
It's like something standard in a household nowadays.
Yeah, it's like the couch.
Sadly, the PlayStation VR is a different story, or VR in general. But a PlayStation, oh yeah, totally mainstream.
We're getting there, man. We're getting there. The Swiss guy, the VR grid. How you doing, guys? You all right? We did have, unfortunately, and I missed it, 7 Degrees of Gaming. Nat, he was here. How you doing, man? Charlie Lima. Nice,
Yeah.
guys. Thank you all for joining. Excellent. Void Cat, I don't know if I give you a shout earlier, man, but how you doing? Johnny Rypop. Nice.
Yeah, 7 Degrees of Gaming did just say that you're definitely a great-looking guy, but where's the beard?
I'll take
And
his
that's
Nathie's
perfectly-
still good too.
I don't know.
that actually there with his very long wizardy beard. So he's wondering where the beard is.
Nice,
Point
dude.
have come bearded.
So, at number 16 is Ace Combat 7, which I was quite surprised about this because the whole game isn't a VR game. It's a part of the game which is a VR experience.
Experience, yes.
But don't get me wrong, visually it's fantastic and they've done amazingly well with it. But it's another one of those cases where it left everyone wanting more. So, yeah. How are we doing on this one?
It's who wants to go first? Who's going first?
Go Lincoln! Go Lincoln! Go
Hey,
Lincoln!
why not?
Come on, son. Get in there, mate.
The Ace Combat 7 is the first game that tore me right down the middle.
Oh, talk to me.
3 missions, 3 VR missions, but the game is still $60. I have no interest in the flat screen version of that game, only the VR part of it. I have not even tried the flat screen version of the game. I've only played the VR part of it.
Dude, I've seen this for £75.
Mm-hmm.
This
So
game.
I tried it because I wanted to be in a fighter jet. What are the chances that any of us are going to be on a carrier, on an aircraft carrier, in a fighter jet, and experience those G-forces taking off from the deck of a carrier? And to hear that rumble, to see that first jet take off, and then you take off, and once you leave that carrier, it's almost silent, but you look out that window, and that island getting smaller underneath you just looks so real. So, and then I got the Hodis flight stick along with that to add to the immersion. So that's another game where they better give us more missions or I'm not going to be happy.
Are you happy now? Again? Are we going down the happy road?
No, I'm not upset, just wanting more. I've only finished one of the missions, but I almost kind of want to wait until they give us more missions before I dive back into it.
I don't think you're going to see any more.
Yeah,
They have to.
I'm with see, Ace Combat has got a cult following, and I mean a massive cult following in terms of gameplay for the flat game, mostly due to its storyline. And one of the things that happened there is that the creators behind all this, they thought, we'll just bolt VR on top of this and it'll be fine. And then they did that and went, this isn't working. So they basically stripped back everything. They had somebody else come in and go, right, this is what we got to do to get it working. In part, they got things right. There's 3 missions that are there are stellar. It's so well done. It's brilliantly made, blah, blah, blah. Checks all those off. But then you have things like the added thing of the sitting on the carrier and watching the air show, where I feel like it's a missed opportunity. Instead of sitting on a carrier watching them do their stunts, I would love for them to go, here's how you do formation flying in a jet fighter, and take you through some lessons on doing tricks and stunts in a jet fighter and fly some formation flying. That would have been blow your mind stuff. So I get why it's up there, because as the VR experience, it's good. It's really good.
Yeah.
But there isn't enough of it. And I do hope they bring out more DLC, because on the simulation side as well, even PC side for VR flying games, jet fighters and stuff like that, that stuff is all simulation based. It's real hardcore learning. You're reading 300 pages to be able to use the rate system on some of this stuff,
Yeah.
Whereas this, you get in it, you go, okay, there's some power this thing up. I'm going to switch to my missiles. I'm going to lock onto this guy. I'm going to put them on the deck. All of this stuff. It's action, 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 action. And it's great fun. And that's what Ace Combat is. And to have that in VR, that experience where you get to feel like you're a fighter pilot without having to go through the pages of reading manuals and technical manuals and everything else, to actually be able to fly one of these jets is the whole appeal.
Yeah.
It's just missing it. And it took so long to arrive as well.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it was one of the most delayed games.
I think the Spider 1's going to take that soon. But you know what I mean? We'll have to see how that goes on. What about you, Nathie? You played this too?
Yeah, I did. I was very cool. Like Namco sent me the like flight stick they had from Ace Combat, so it was like a themed one.
Sweet.
So I totally got into the vibe of Ace Combat. Never played an Ace Combat before. I actually I honestly I never heard of Ace Combat before until they announced this. I was like, oh okay, so like I'm not really into simulators that much, but I totally agree. Price wise. For just the VR part, yeah, it's quite expensive. If you're someone who loves Ace Combat and also likes VR, then great price. And they should have split it off.
Yes.
Just like I think the same happened to Battlefront. With this little mission you got to play in the X-wing. You also had to buy the entire game, and then yeah, I don't know. It was fun, and what I thought was the most impressive part was when you took off and you went into the clouds, like these raindrops started to, be on the windows. So yeah, it's super super cool, super fun.
My wife made a video on this. My wife played this. She doesn't play VR, but she's never. I was going to return it, so I bought it out of a shop to return it, and I said to her, I'm going to take that back. She went, oh no, I really want to play this game, and I was like. What? Why would you want to play this game? Like, she never really says that. And she wanted to make a video on it and play it. And I cut her from the video the first time she crashed because she's not very happy going underwater in real life. And she didn't realise that when you crash in this game, you just blow up on the surface. She thought you might go underwater and die. So she freaked out. But I cut her from the video.
I would love for this game to be multiplayer. Because I played a game called Over G on the 360 before. And this was a game, the multiplayer aspect of it was you could take off from a base. The object was to fly to the enemy's base, bomb their base, and then return to your own base. I would love to see something like that in VR, but a multiplayer, something like that. For Ace Combat, I would still be playing it to this day if they had that.
Yeah, cool. All right, so moving on. Anyone we got in the chat? I would say, hello, Decepticon. Oh, yeah. How you doing, man? You all right? Nice. Kev Gret. Mrs. GT. How are you, babe? You all right? So, next up. Owen Ann. How you doing? Next up, we got a game which, for me, would have personally been in my top 10. And when I was on the F-Reality show, they said to me, like, have you got a PlayStation VR game that you'd recommend? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, this one. And none of them have played it. And I was like, what? This game. So, The Persistence. For me, is an absolutely fantastic game, and I think some games are thrown around quite loosely. When you see a game that sort of kind of looks like one game, they go, "Oh, that looks like God of War. Oh, that looks like Dead Space," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, it's in space, and there's dead people there, and it's a bit violent. We'll call it Dead Space. Yeah, but to be fair, this got damn close, and in its own right, because it's procedurally generated. There's lots of weapons, enemy types, great graphics. To me, this is in the top 10. But here we are. I think it was it 15 or 16, this one?
15.
Yeah, 15 for The Persistence from Firesprite. So, yeah, what's your experience of this game, guys?
Shall I go first on this one?
Yeah.
I think it's an impressive title. I think it hits the nail on the head, really. At the price that it was as well, it wasn't that high a price.
No, it wasn't. That's right.
And it's procedurally generated, and it's got a ton of modes. It represents really good value for money. The quality is there. It provided a very amusing video of GT absolutely screaming his head off.
It's a scary game.
It can be. It builds up tension well. It's got all of the different, mechanics. I don't usually go too much for the horror zombie type side of things, but yeah, very satisfying game. And if you have the mindset of trying to get through this type of maze of a game, you can just end up spending huge amounts of this game.
It's a bloody good story as well, and it is a good campaign length.
Yeah, definitely. So I think it's a definite. If you want something to be able to waste time and you want to be able to kill zombies in space, you can't really ask for a better title than The Persistence.
No. What about you, Nathie? You played this one?
Well, as you said, every Ellie hasn't played it, so I'm a part of that.
Oh no!
So I have not played it. I do have it on my PlayStation account, but I never got to try it because I mean, for you guys, it's like you cover PlayStation VR. For me, it's like I need to cover all platforms.
Yes.
It's hard, trust me. But what I do know is that this title, as one of the only ones, has like a good difficulty on it. It's proper, hard.
Yeah.
To finish it, and that's what I like. There's too many games nowadays; they're just way too easy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And going back to what you were saying earlier about what was the first game we spoke about that you said you weren't happy about the introduction to it, Sals, and stuff. What was that one? What was the one we were talking about? No, go. I'm talking about Asgard. Don't talk about that. Sorry, my bad. I was talking about that game. Yep. I wanted to go and basically say, my bad, that I loved the challenge of this game. The fact that when you die, you get to basically improve your next clone. Because you're clones, aren't you? And
it's the roguelike aspect of this. It's the same as like with In Death and stuff like that, where you continually have, though you die, you have the chance to increase the capabilities of your character, so that on your next go through, you can push that bit further.
Yeah.
Along building your own skills, you're actually building your in-game character skills. And that's a core essential to it. But with them actually doing it procedurally generated, meant that each time you go through, though things will feel familiar, you won't know the layouts. You won't know what it's going to throw. It's going to throw something different at you every single time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's part of the appeal.
What about you, Lincoln? How are we doing on this one?
This game, I tried the demo. Very good graphics. I was impressed with the graphics on this game, and some of the PlayStation VR.
I was just going to say, was it demo disc 2 or demo disc 3?
The first demo.
Okay, that isn't the same.
That's a different game.
Okay, but I thought it had good graphics, minimal blur, because we do know some of these PlayStation VR games are blurry. So I was very impressed with the graphics, but because of how shook up Resident Evil left me and the Weeping Doll, those two games left me shook up.
The Weeping Doll left me shook up because the controls are trash.
Well, I barely touched Weeping Doll because you hear all these chains dangling, and I go into the room to investigate it. Nobody's there. So I was like, I don't want to come anywhere near these horror games. But it was on a flash sale. It was only like $13 at a flash sale. So even though it might make me, leave a crap in my pants, I got to get it. So I got the game. I will get back to playing it sooner or later, but I was definitely impressed with the graphics. I do think it's a good game. I just got to overcome, this game being a horror game, because horror games is where VR is just too real.
I see. That's the thing. To quickly touch on the horror thing, I always wanted that because I was a massive fan of Silent Hill 2 in particular, Resident Evil 4 in particular, in the first one. VR for me reignited that as well. It's next level. Like, horror in VR is next level.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's too amazing.
It's those moments where obviously people go, but it's just a game, it's not real. And you go, yeah, but you still scream when you watch this in the cinema, or you've watched this horror film on a TV. But in there, you turn away, you're still hearing it. Even if you're closing your eyes in fear, you're still hearing it. and as soon as you open your eyes again, it can be there, right in your face, just like it is in real life.
That's the one thing I say to everyone if they try VR. I'm like, because my cousin who played the PT demo, which is absolutely fantastic, I said to her, because I know what she's like, she's the sort of person there, she'll come round and go, I want to go and get scared. It's Halloween. And I'm like, all right, let's go. I'll jump in a car, right? And I'll say, look, I've got to jump out because I need a piss. Yeah. I'll go out into the misty field. She'll lock me out the car. And I'm like, let me in the bloody car. Do you know what I mean? But she'll be like, no, I'm scared. She'll want to scare herself so bad. So anyway, she played PT, right? And I thought to myself, I know what's going to happen here. And I said, look, don't throw him a dual shock. Yeah, just if you get scared, just let go or sure enough, cross the room. Petrified. So I haven't seen her. I haven't actually. I don't think I've invited her to play any horror in VR. She did try Richie's Plank, which I don't think she got across because I got a real bit of wood for that one. She didn't quite make that one. But yeah. So in at number 14, or we're going to end up BA for ages, is Arizona Sunshine. And I thought the latest DLC was fantastic. Nathie, what's your thoughts on this? Because you probably play some multi-platform, or have you played it on every platform?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah, the base game is great. I have a different opinion about the DLC though. I don't know which DLC you're. I think it's
the
the
newest
Damned,
one,
right?
the Damned, yeah.
Was okay. The thing is with Arizona, it's quite old now, so I don't know if it can really live up with new content still. But it's fun to play multiplayer. I think it's more about chit chatting with friends, killing some zombies with like rubber duckies and things like that.
Horde mode, man. Is it horde mode where 4 of you stand off?
Oh yeah, hard mode. Yeah. I
That's
think
wicked.
4. Yeah. But yeah, it's still. Just in general, not only for PlayStation VR, it's a classic. It's in almost every top 20, I would say. Yeah, it's good for its time. It's good, I would say.
What about you, Lincoln? You played this?
Yes, I thought Arizona Sunshine was the game that set the tone for zombie games in terms of everybody and their mother making a zombie game. They're everywhere now, in VR. And I think Arizona Sunshine, if you want to put it that way, is one of the pioneers of zombie games in VR. I also thought the game was grossly overpriced for the longest, so I didn't come anywhere near it. $40 was a lot of money for that game, but I caught it on a flash sale at the PlayStation Store for $13 with the DLC included, so I had to jump on.
Wow, that's bloody brilliant.
Yeah.
So I played it, and I don't think it's a bad game, but I still don't think it was worth the $40.
Cool. I liked the new DLC because I just personally it was all action. There was loads of ammo. It wasn't about surviving at all. It wasn't they seemed to just throw that out the window. Like, it doesn't matter now. The zombies is just fodder. And I personally enjoyed that because I love just shooting them in the knees and as they fall, shooting them in the face. And I loved all that. So, yeah. What about you, South Searage?
I got it later. I didn't get it on release because I was sort of like, I want to wait this one. Like I say, I'm not a big horror fan. I'm not a big zombie fan. And I thought it was too steep a price for me to come in at. So, like Lincoln, I got it on a sale. Unfortunately, I think when I got on the sale, there was another release that was quite big. So trying to get like co-op play at the time was more difficult because everybody else was on the new game that had been released. So it wasn't as good an experience when you're just doing the solo stuff as the co-ops. So that left me a little bit, yeah. I get where Lincoln's saying as well about the whole zombie thing. I think we've seen a fair amount of zombies. And I think with zombie, horror, and other stuff like that, there is a cycle of content that generally happens around games. So up with a phase that goes, we're in a zombie phase. We're in this phase.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What tends to happen around
right now, as we speak, we're in the cart, period.
We are, yes, absolutely. They are coming thick and fast, man. They're just appearing like ready, nearly built.
Yeah,
like,
I know, right?
What's that? How did that turn up?
Yeah.
Right.
We've got another incoming zombie phase as well.
Yeah, but the thing is, man, like, and I know Nathie has as well played The Walking Dead by Servios, but Saints and Sinners genuinely looks like a proper survival zombie game, and I don't think that's what I've always wanted, a game where I could actually spend a good few hours and I've got to build kit, I've got to survive. You're not just, the zombies aren't just the enemies, you know, the actual people are probably the people, the people are the ones that are the most dangerous, you know, because they're the free roaming, they're the
Well,
ones
that's
you
something
still
new.
think.
I haven't seen any like real VR game where that's the case. We have only seen zombie games, but hey, that costs a lot of money, you know, write a good story, make a game for let's say 2-3 years instead of like 6 months. So yeah, you can see that these studios are a little bit bigger than you know, the indies. But yeah, I'm excited for a few new titles for sure. Yeah.
Right, okay. So coming in at 13, we are getting there very slowly, is Borderlands 2, which is yet to come out, I think. Is it coming out very soon on PC? It's not long now, is it?
Yeah, this month.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think then we all get the DLC for free or something. Is that what it is? Is it something like that?
The price will include the DLC. So we got the DLC over here on the PlayStation, and that was added for free on top of, if you got it straight there free.
Yeah.
And they'll release it with the whole of the DLC straight away on the PC side.
That's it. Yeah, man. Cool. Thank you.
I don't know if they're actually just adding it as a free add-on or if we're paying again. I think we might be paying again for the game. But because I own the Handsome Jack collection and all of that on the PC and on PS4. So I think it's a case of you still have to pay to get the VR version. I don't know.
Right, okay. So, yeah, I mean, Borderlands coming to VR is absolutely massive. You know, that would have got everyone's attention, IGN's especially, because they completely messed it up. So, yeah, you know. But either way, I mean, it's a shame it was trash, but that led to the community all getting together and basically saying, no, guys, you've completely messed this up.
That is true, yeah.
The misinformation was unbelievable. I can't remember what the guy's name was, but he basically come out and was like, it's only teleportation, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I was like, he hasn't even gone in the options. He hasn't even...
that's true. Yeah, they just went for it, like they played on default. Yeah.
It was so annoying because IGN, I know whether you love them or hate them, they got a massive audience, and it, you know, I mean, I think they loved Asgard's Wrath, which is pleasing.
Oh, okay. So they did look into the settings, basically.
Yes, as far as I know, man, the Asgard's Wrath, I think they gave it a really high rating, which is what you want. So. Yeah, so Lincoln, was you a fan of I personally have experienced Borderlands. I know everyone wants co-op. Everyone wants co-op in Borderlands because that's and there's a lot of people say that is how you should experience Borderlands, is cooperatively. But yeah, Lincoln, go for it, man. Have you played this?
Yes, I do. I do have this game, and boy, this is the game that kind of left me in the middle of the road because I think Sony introduced this game to celebrate, I believe, their first or second anniversary of the PlayStation VR. And not only that, I bought the game purely out of support for PlayStation VR because when I got deep into VR, it's still to this day, I wanted us to move to a place where we see more and more AAA games coming to VR. And I felt like this was one of the first other than Resident Evil, this was like one of the few AAA games that came to VR. So I bought the game strictly for support. I paid the $50 for it. And it's only the second time that I played Borderlands. The only other time I ever played it was on my PlayStation Vita.
Let me just get this straight. If you owned Borderlands 2, the VR is completely separate, isn't it? This is a whole...
Yeah. It's standalone. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like you own the first one, you get a discount, or you get it... Right, okay. No worries.
No.
Yeah.
But the game itself, I kind of got turned off by it because this is really petty. Why? But the character Claptrap in the game, I found him to be annoying, so I couldn't.
He's supposed to be annoying. That's the idea.
I couldn't listen to it anymore.
Yeah, he's meant to be that annoying.
Just find a couple of stairs. That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
Find stairs.
If I could change his voice, maybe I'd continue to play the game. But that's where I stand on it. But I don't think it's a bad game. And I'm really glad that that was like one of the first steps that Sony took to bring AAA games to PlayStation VR.
It's a big deal, you know, and I think we're seeing it more and more, aren't we? We're seeing more bigger flat games starting to get that virtuality treatment, and it was done very well. And they also added aim support, which I think changed it again for me personally. I loved playing it with the aim. So yeah, what do you think of this, Nathie? You all good with this? I take it you love this game.
Yeah, that's a good part. It's a good one.
Excellent. Souse?
Yeah, it came as a surprise announcement. This game, I think, it came out of left field. It's like, blah blah blah, and here you go. Here's Borderlands 2 VR, and it's releasing next week.
Oh,
like,
what? Is that what happened? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was like it caught me by surprise because it was sort of like, yeah, and by the way, this is coming then, and I'm like, what? That's quick. Where did that come from?
Yeah.
So I was ecstatic to play it, of course. A few things that I thought on release they didn't get quite right. But you know, like aim support and a couple of other little bits, I still don't think, like you pointed out, the multiplayer, because they didn't have the confidence to release this with the multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they built this whole slow down time mechanic thing to make it easier. And the case is that, people would have jumped on this if you could do multiplayer. I'm hoping, I don't think they are going to reverse that for the PC release.
I know he's going to say that. That's the first thing I remember seeing on Reddit, was people always coming to PC, surely they're releasing co-op. I don't know why. I'm not sure.
It's about like, it's just simply like, for them, of course it's not, but it's too expensive to, you know, like it takes way much more time, way much more money to port that over as well. You know, porting over just the single player is one thing, but also having that is a total different story. Of course they have the money, but in the end, you know,
it's return.
It's a good start. It's a good start.
Yeah, because also I think on the online side of things, the ranking system has to change. If someone joins you at a different level and you're like a level 10...
Yeah, it's more than what you think it is.
Yeah.
There is a lot going into that.
There is a lot going in.
But I agree. Like, for me, Borderlands is like a co-op game. It has never been a single player for me. So, yeah.
It's a shame on that side. But at the same time, it's like, I got to drink in boxes. Like, I got to have a real drink in boxes.
Oh, yeah. And waste your money on the slot machines.
That's it.
Waste your money on the slot machines while actually having a real drink in your hand while actually standing in boxes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's awesome. That's like VR of that game in a nutshell, of Borderlands 2 in a nutshell. It's like, yes, you know, I wanted more from that, and I still love that. It's really, really good.
Nice.
You know, what can I say? Just works. It just works. But yeah.
Cool, man. Hello, JD. How's it going? To Drunk Gamer. Who else did we have? Rocket Tommy, Joystick, Forged in Fire, Nick. How's it going, guys? You all right? Thank you for joining us, Taznik. Thanks, guys. So, on to number 12. He shouldn't need much introduction, really. Is Firewall 0 Hour. Now, I thought this was going to be in a top 10 as well. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've all played it. This is one of my favourite online games on PlayStation VR, without a doubt. And a number of updates. But still, there's still issues with the game online. Sometimes it works completely smoothly. When it first came out, it was fantastic. Like, I don't remember having any issues at all. And the more updates they put into this game, like last night, every time I tried to play it, I was in the floor. Oh, my head was here. And I was like, okay, we'll start the game, same thing. Went to search a game, I'm up to the floor. And I was like, all right, we won't play tonight. We won't play Firewall.
That gives you an advantage in the end, so I don't know why you're complaining.
No, it would if there was someone else there. It's just me in a room, stuck in the floor.
Okay.
I'm like,
I was like, you actually got to play like that as well. It would have been great.
That happened in Call of Duty, actually. I actually spawned outside the level, and all these guys running around. I was just shooting them through the wall, and no one could ever shoot me back. Yeah. That was pretty cool, man.
That's what the kids always do at Rec Room when they play paintball. They hide in the floors when they kill you.
Do they?
Yeah, they do, yeah.
I didn't know. Cool. So yeah, thoughts on Firewall quickly, guys. I'm sure it's all positive.
Oh yeah, totally. Like I actually went to the office where they made it, and it's amazing. It's such a great, tactical shooter. One that I think the PC community is very jealous of,
Yeah.
because it's very unique. And yeah, it's one of those reasons to buy PlayStation VR if you like shooters, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people picked up aim controllers because of this game, without
Yeah.
a doubt. I mean, I remember
Oh
being
yeah.
in the chat, and I was talking to a guy in there, and Honor of Duty just come out, and
Yeah.
it had 32 players online, and I was saying to
Yeah.
him, dude, like, do you love the aim controller? He went, yeah, and I was like, what other games have you played? And he said none. I was like, okay, and then I was like, I just played a game called Honor of Duty. It's got 32 players online. He went, dude, that's impossible. I
Oh
went,
yeah.
well, I've just played it, and he was like, no, man, in virtuality, you can't do that. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, no worries. I won't argue
Plus,
with you.
plus this game is like the best community manager of
Yes.
all video games, if you know what I mean. I'm totally biased here. Never mind.
Yeah, Frank's awesome, dude. Frank's awesome. So, Lincoln, talk to me about Firewall Zero Hour. And R777, he's a massive fan. He is moist in the chat for a bit of Firewall. Clearly, he's splurging in the chat. Tradition, how's it going?
Firewall was the moment that I was waiting for in VR. Not necessarily for this game, but first-person shooter games in general. Because when I was still in the flat screen game, first-person shooter games and sports games were my favorite games.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to first-person shooter games, even flat screen games, the next iteration of the game, you want it to be more immersive and more interactive and more realism. And VR is the top. You can't get any higher than that when it comes to first-person shooter games than to play them in VR. To actually be inside this game, shooting at people, trying to avoid getting shot at. So
Yeah,
this
sure.
was the moment that I was waiting for. All the days of motion sickness that I had to put up with in the beginning.
Oh, man.
Getting past the point where I was thinking about selling my PlayStation VR. And when I decided to stick it out, it was like first-person shooter games is what I was waiting for. We were still like about a year off. So around the time that Firewall Zero Hour was supposed to come out, there was other first-person shooter games that were supposed to come out with Alvo. I think what is now Zero Caliber was supposed to be Special Forces VR or something like that.
Yeah.
And,
Alvo's still coming to PlayStation VR, though, I believe.
Right. I understand he found a new investor or whatever the case may be. And I can't remember what the other game was. The other first.
You got Zero Killed. You got Zero Caliber.
Yeah,
One's by
so,
Sin Studios.
Around that time, we were starting to get a wave of first-person shooter games that was being advertised to come to the PlayStation format, and this was what I was waiting for. First, we're finally going to get a real first-person shooter game.
Yeah, it's a fantastic
Bravo
game.
Team left me a little bit disappointed, but it was still the first step into a first-person shooter game on the PlayStation VR format. But Firewall was taking it to the next level with it being multiplayer. So.
Yeah,
That was a memorable night for me because I did a 3.5-hour podcast leading up to the midnight release of the game, and then after it released, I still did like another 3-hour stream of the game. So all my time on the PlayStation VR format, that has to be my most memorable night. So that was the moment that I was waiting for. I'll never forget it.
Oh, that is lovely. South, you got a long way to go to get over that passionate story there. I don't know what you're gonna do. What are you gonna do?
It's good. It's really good.
Excellent. Right, moving on. So now we're on to. I'm only joking.
Yeah, when you're playing it, I have one thing that would probably fix it for me, and it's to do about actually getting into the game and playing the game, because it has a set time. There's set timers. You have no host migration.
I know what you're talking
These
about.
all the things, the bad points that people have already said and put out there. And I think that's the one poor part of the game where it doesn't have the host migration. And I would like to have seen a ready up system instead of a set timer.
Yeah, I agree.
Means that you can literally be waiting there for longer than you play a game. And that to me is the reverse way round of any game that I really want to play. Because it's got the gameplay and the mechanics to be there and go, right, ready guys, go, 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 play, go, go, and constantly do that as a stream. But you have to wait for a timer.
Yeah.
And
And
that
it's not
is,
rounds. Like you just,
you know,
if they'd have done best of 3, it would have made it completely different. So, and I've always said that. But I don't make VR games, and as like Nathie was touching earlier as well, there's a lot that goes into this, especially online. So
there is. But I think that's the one thing. For me personally, if they had a ready up system, that would help a lot.
Yeah, true. Thank you, Robin, ever so much for that donation and spurring everyone to like the video. Cheers, man. Thank you ever so much. Jimster, how's it going, man? Keith Hunt. Have I missed anyone out of saying hello to? Because I'd like to say hello to everyone. DLG27. Nice, man. So now, number 11. We're nearly in the top 10. I wish I had some sort of jingle like top of the pops to go with that, but I haven't. Is Moss, which is on all systems now. I believe you can play it on the Quest, which I have played it. Oh, there you got him, have you? Or her? Sorry, her. Oh, look at that. Beautiful.
You've got to love Quill.
How we feeling about this game?
I think it's obvious. I got the little statue of Quill here, and it's just I like the approach that this game took. It's different to a lot of what other people do. It took the story, it took the emotion, it took feelings, and it makes that connection in VR. It, as out of body as you are as a floating head and ball, a ball, a little ball thing. It worked so well because you are controlling Quill as well, but you're also interacting with Quill in a different way through sign language, from being able to pet her head and scruff you off, giving a high five and pointers and the animation, and it all engages you into the story, the detail and all the detailing. Like if you ever want to live through a living, breathing, magical storybook, Moss is the way to do it. Literally, it starts with a storybook that moves. It does the whole white flash thing. Then you're there in the book. And when you move from scene to scene, I don't know if you've noticed that, but you can hear the pages turning of the book as you go from scene to scene. The sound design, the graphics, all the attention to detail in this game is exactly where it needs to be. It tells a story well, it does the sound well, it does the graphics well, it does the gameplay well, and it builds on emotions. So for me, it's one that I'm passionate about as a game. I really can't wait to play the second one. And
is there a second one? Have they confirmed there's a second one? Because they've done some DLC, didn't they?
Let me put it this way. Come on. If PlayStation had the thing going along that it's the next gen, and now they've gone, okay, we can officially say it's called PlayStation 5, people. We're calling it PlayStation 5. If there isn't a second Moss, it's like, if there's not a chapter 2, then something's wrong with the universe.
All right, fair enough. It's a book 2, yeah. What about you, Nathie? I take it. I always thought about a model village when I saw this game. It's what it reminded me of, like you're a giant in a model village when you play this.
Yeah, so again, like third person mixed with first person, genius concept. And yeah, as you guys mentioned, like you can interact with the world around you with your controllers. You can also feel Quill's heartbeat, what I think is like super awesome and really lets you build up a personal relationship with this character. Also, female protagonists in VR games are rare, so this is great to see. It's awesome. It's beautiful. It's cute. It's everything. And I'm sure there is going to be a part 2. When I was at E3, even that Moss was out for a while, they had a little booth where you could take a photo with Quill. They had like this hologram that you could interact with. And that shows enough of like even, Oculus seeing the potential of what this is and how good it is. So yeah, you still see it around, and of course the statues that they have been giving away. And if you are a big fan of Moss, I would recommend you going to the merch store they have, because they have all kinds of beautiful designs of Quill.
Yeah.
So I would totally recommend diving into that. But yeah, amazing game.
Sweet. What about you, Lincoln? You played this one?
Yes, I do have this game. In fact, when I bought my PlayStation VR, the second headset, I think it was the Moss Astro Bot bundle that I caught on clearance. Now, at the time when Moss came out, that was around the time where I felt like I have to do my part to help push VR to the mainstream. Because I felt like, you guys heard me say it a million times, that we've got to do our part to get VR to the mainstream in order for us to get the kind of experiences we want. The developers has to see that there's money involved in this. And Moss came around at about that time. So Moss came around at a time where when I try to reach out to people and try to draw them into VR, I think the timing of Moss was perfect, because you can ask a person, what kind of game do you like? And you can show them a game in that genre. And I felt like Moss would be a very appealing game to people who like storybook games and platformers in VR.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to pay the $30 for the game. I didn't think it was an expensive game. It's just I had so many other games on my radar.
Yeah.
But I did play, and I do think it's a good game. And I think it was just another experience added to VR to help, demonstrate to people who might be interested in getting into VR. Not everybody wants to see these violent, first-person shooters or horror games or something like that. I think this is a very good game for people who like storybook games, as Salsa put it. So that's where I stand on Moss.
This is one of the games my daughter's played as well. She doesn't play much VR. She likes Electronauts and Rec Room, but Moss is one of the games she did play. But she did get scared when it comes to the little turtley things that attack her. She didn't really like that. But yeah, which is cool, because I said to her, look, you got to be scared of these things. Why not? There's nothing wrong with being scared sometimes, adding emotion to a game. So, number 10. Again, I'm glad it's in the top 10, because it would have been in my personal top 10. It's Superhot VR. So, Nathie, talk to us about Superhot, man.
Superhot, also a classic.
Yeah.
And it also, like, the great part about Superhot is that when it first came out, it was only the base game, but then they also added these modes to it. I'm not sure if you can also play them on PlayStation, but you have like these endless modes, and I don't know how the DLC was called, but it was a free update.
Yeah.
And it's funny that the first time I got to play Superhot was in, I think, 2014 in VR, where you had to play it seated with a gamepad, and you had to actually dodge the bullets with your head and then run around with your gamepad. It was like the first prototype they had of Superhot. I think it was on the DK2, was one of the first things they showed. But yeah, it has evolved so much. It's now like a room scale title. Makes great, use out of your play space. I don't know how that works on PlayStation VR, because you do have that. If you have the first generation, you have this volume button that has a little bit of weight to it, and also the cables are kind of dragging you a little bit.
Right.
But if you don't play it as a standing experience, it's awesome. Really dodging and feeling like Neo from the Matrix. So what else do you want?
Yeah, so all those modes you're talking about are in the PlayStation version of the game, which
Sweet.
is great. Yeah,
Nice.
and like it was a game changer for me. Really was another experience that you didn't think you'd ever be able to have until VR comes along. So that's my thing on it. Where you going, Lincoln, with this one?
Superhot. I think it was a game that came along when the PlayStation VR was still in its infancy. And it also came along at a time when I was getting really picky about the graphics. I felt like this is a good game. It's a great game, but all the characters look like cubic zirconias in this game. So I wanted photorealistic graphics, but it is a great game. I still play it every now and then. And this is not a knock on PlayStation, but after playing the game on the Oculus Quest and not being restricted to any cords and stuff like that, it's makes the experience even more amazing. But it is a great game.
Do you know what was so good about this? I remember this being one of those viral YouTube games. Like, you'd never seen it before, you never really heard of it. But yet Jacksepticeye and other people were doing Superhot, and you couldn't help but go, that looks really cool. You know what I mean? Like, and it was really good to see that coming to PlayStation VR. That was a must buy for me, without a doubt. That was another one of those. Souseridge.
It's definite must buy. I think it's an ideal introduction for anybody into VR as well. It's one of those games that if you want to find your VR legs, it's really great like that. PSVR version, yeah, good. Blurry on arrival, fixed up, done right there. Of course, the best version is the Quest version, personally, especially when played in the surroundings of a stately home, which is one of the best way that I've played it so far, which is good fun. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. If you haven't got it, then you're missing out, basically.
Absolutely.
Well deserved.
Absolutely. So, moving on to number 9, which I'm sure no one's surprised this is in a top 10, is Skyrim VR. For me personally, I remember I've played this game, I think it was on the Xbox 360 first of all, and then I played it on like a remake, which is on the PS4. And to be fair, this is why I've not completed it in VR, is because I've put a lot of time into this game in the past. Probably not as much as other people, because I know people have played this for thousands of hours. But that first time when you see a character, or when you experience a game flat and then go into VR, I think it's strange in a way, because everything just seems larger. I remember seeing the ice spider, and I always thought it, like, not saying it was an average spider, it was like, I don't know, 6 foot tall spider. No, in VR, man, it's about 20 foot tall. It's a bloody huge spider, and it scared the crap out of me. So, yeah, and the fact this come to PlayStation was absolutely incredible, I thought.
Who's first?
Whoever. I don't mind. I mean, let's go Lincoln.
Okay.
Oh, okay. This game came along at a time where I was glad to see that a AAA game had come to the PlayStation format, but it also came along at a time where it was starting to become obvious that the only way we were going to get some of these AAA games coming to PlayStation VR is if they basically ported last-gen games over to this format. And so
it works well, though. Like, a lot of people, yeah.
But it became obvious, that the current hardware limitations, you definitely weren't going to see, say, a God of War on the PlayStation format, because it would have been so limited and so watered down that I don't think it would have been worth them even, putting the time into it. But this game right here, it was at a stage where I was like, hey, even if it's last gen, we're getting something AAA. I was like, this is a start. So, but I know that this game has a lot of, gameplay in it, a lot of hours of gameplay. I did have the game at one point, and I did dabble around with it, but I knew I was not going to be playing this game for 80 or 100 hours or whatever case may be. But I still think it was great that it was another step closer of us getting AAA games on the PlayStation VR format, even if it was last gen.
Nice. Go on, his house.
There's a thing, like, you played on the flat screen. I never played Skyrim on flat screen.
I would have loved that.
It didn't appeal to me at all as a flat screen game.
Okay. As
a VR game, it's like, oh my God, yes, please jack me in. It's everything that for me, that's what VR really embodies, is that it's not playing on a screen, it's not playing escapism that way, it's escaping into something completely different from your everyday life, your everyday world, everything there, and you can explore a world in full, in real, and that really did appeal to me about Skyrim VR. And so I've got hundreds of hours into it. Unfortunately, many of those hours was me repeating the same part of the game over and over again on different systems to make comparison videos.
Oh God.
Which is really annoying. I should be a lot further along in story than I am. But so I've spent roughly about 8 different playthroughs of the same section of story. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I couldn't do that, man. I could do it twice, maybe, or 3 times, but that'd be me. I couldn't do it that many times.
When I play it in private, though, I'm playing it on PC in a fully modded version of the game.
I thought he was going to say in a thong for some reason. I was like, where's he going with that?
Don't go there.
In private. Skyrim pants.
There's a PC channel here. Nobody wants that. But yeah, so for me, it's a stellar game. But of course, PlayStation version did have its limitations. I think the current iteration of where they've taken this game on the base system has increased a lot. The graphic level has increased greatly because it looked like someone had smeared the lenses.
Yeah, it didn't look good, first of all. Yeah.
No. And now it's at the full resolution. It looks nicer, a lot nicer and sharper. Amazing game. The only thing that holds it back on PSVR is the moves, which you get used to. But compared to playing it with touch controllers, it's not as easy.
Cool. Nathan?
That's it.
Yeah, so Skyrim VR, just like that moment where they announced Skyrim VR and Fallout VR and then also Doom, because they all, got announced at the same time. It's like, wow, this is a great moment for VR for sure. Because, when you played Skyrim in VR on whatever system, you get a glimpse of what mainstream games will look like to a certain degree. Maybe not gameplay-wise, because it's still a part and it does play like that and does feel like that. Some things are missing that you would get in a built from the ground up for VR title. But yeah, besides that, it's awesome. It is, again, a little bit overwhelming controls-wise. I played it on PlayStation VR as well. Of course, I'm not a wintered player, so for me, having to figure it out with the moves was kind of hard because there was a menu within a menu, and there were, let's say, the problem is with porting over games is that they have too many button combinations and they just simply don't fit into a controller, and then they have to find a way to just make some kind of rabbit hole system where you first press this and then press that and then get somewhere. So that was kind of hard. Of course, combat-wise, it was fine, but quickly going into your menu to heal yourself up or to get something was just a little slow for me.
No, I completely agree. Even like whenever I played it, it's and that's the problem being like supporting VR the way a lot of us do, and making these videos is you jump from game to game to game to game. Well, to go back to Skyrim, same as No Man's Sky on a whim. Is hard.
No Man's Sky, same thing. Yeah,
it's
same
tough.
Thing.
It's tough. You can't.
But
just
that's
jump
again
in.
also because of the part. Like parts are usually like if it was made from the ground for VR, you would have grabbed your backpack. Maybe there was a menu in there. Or you had like some kind of watch. Of course, you didn't have watches in Skyrim, but something that would work, right? Like maybe you would hold your sword on the side and could see your health meter on there. Or there are so many examples of how you could do it. But yeah, Skyrim, great push for VR. The only thing I was worried about back then was there were so many parts coming out that I was like, I just don't hope that this is going to be the standard because, parts are nice to a certain degree. But if everyone thinks that's VR, then we're going to have a problem. So it's nice as an extra, but it shouldn't be the standard.
And I think we're at that now, aren't we? We're getting standalone.
We don't see that many parts at the moment, and maybe that's okay too. Because, for example, No Man's Sky, even that, people were very hyped up for it. If it was a real proper VR game, and it was actually like super epic, then it would have had a total different effect on the VR industry than it would have now. It's a fun game, No Man's Sky, but imagine if it was a built from the ground up for a VR game. Then it would have had a total different, response from the community. Yeah,
just drop it in there. I believe Mike Vera Oasis hasn't played Skyrim. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it's super funny. I still think he hasn't played it. No.
I can't actually believe that, especially with Zim, who is like mad for Skyrim. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah,
so
true. Yeah.
yeah,
I think it's just one of those things. Like I said on the flat screen, there are games that, simply speaking, do not appeal to certain people. No matter
Yeah,
how.
no. Yeah.
But and I think Skyrim is one of those. Like I say, I never gave it a second look on the flat screen. Um, and when it first got announced, there was a lot of negativity around it wasn't built for VR. It's failing it in this way. Then they, just before release, they had some other gameplay of actually being played by someone. That made me, convinced me to go, okay, I'm definitely buying into this game.
it's still got some of the best music though, as well. That opening tune
Very dramatic.
is
Very.
fantastic. So
Anyway, move on.
move on. In at number 8 is a game that doesn't need any introduction if you're on PlayStation VR because it came out on PS Plus. It's Wipeout Omega Collection. Still, in my mind, and now I'm doing PC VR on the channel as well, the best futuristic racer available. That's my spin on it. Nathie, what do you reckon on this one?
It's intense. It's fast. Yeah, it's again, it's for a specific audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I can't remember games that are like, faster than this. So
Yeah.
if you like speed, then yeah, this is something you should definitely check out if you haven't yet.
I thought the VR thing could have been charged because it's done so bloody well. Like, it was free. It was a free update that just dropped. It was incredible. It could have been a standalone game, is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's, I was trying to get.
Yes. There's no other platform that has something like Wipeout. I know there is Redout with their VR support, but it doesn't come close to this at all.
That's right.
So again, if you like this stuff, then PlayStation VR is where you need to be at.
Absolutely. Souse?
100% agree. If you got a PSVR, you got to play it. I mean, if
It's
you
number
go
8.
back-
They're going to have to now. It's in the top 10. The official top 10. They're going to have to.
yeah, I mean, it's also one of the very first games I played on a PlayStation.
Yeah, and on the original PlayStation, yes, it is actually mine as well. Yeah, you're
that
right.
with the old G-Con
Did
controller.
ya?
Yeah, the twisting.
Mate, you're posh. I remember that. I remember that.
I played at Earl's Court actually, where we'll be like next week is EGXL Courts next
It
week.
is this week, yeah. Is it Excel? Yeah?
Excel. Is it Excel?
Yeah, not Earl's
Okay.
Court, it's Excel. Yeah.
I played at Earl's Court years ago when that came out. So that was one of my first encounters of PlayStation full stop. So I'm a big fan of Wipeout anyway. When Omega Collection released, it didn't have the PSVR support.
That's true.
And I spoke to one of the developers who was on the upscaling it to 4G, 4K even. Oh, look at that bad boy! Look
The
at that
classic PS1 style box for Omega Collection.
Yeah.
Savage.
Yeah. But I spoke to one of the developers of the team that was doing the update into the 4K version, basically, for PS4, before they did anything on the VR, because it's a separate development team that made the VR. It's not anybody who worked on doing that update to 4K.
Right.
And the separate team didn't think of doing VR at all. It wasn't in their scope of it, because they went, no. I had a conversation because he's making another game that is very similar to Wipeout for PC, which I think you've played as well, because it was at last year's EGX, and I've forgotten the name.
Yeah,
of it.
I know. Yeah, it's like F-Zero more than Wipeout, I thought.
I thought it was close to Wipeout, but okay. Anyhow, he just literally went, there's no way you could do that in VR. You should never do that in VR because it'll make everybody sick. And I'm like, but they've done it. And he just went, what? He didn't actually know that they had updated it since he had been working on it to do it in VR.
Sure.
And I'm like,
Crazy, man.
why aren't you doing this in VR? It's a no-brainer now. And that is the thing, that it lived up to everything I wanted from it.
Yeah, it lived
Why-
up to everyone's
and
expectations.
Every single expectation I have of it. The graphics are there. It's the best example in class of graphics. It's great racing, great action, and it's 3 games all there for like under 20 quid.
It was, yeah. I bought it flat for 22, that limited edition thing. Yeah, excellent, man. So on to number 7. This is, I thought it was going to be high. I don't know how people are going to react to this. Is No Man's Sky.
Hold
in
it.
VR.
I got to get mine in.
What's that? What you got to do?
On Wipeout.
Oh, sorry, dude. Sorry, I do apologise. No, Salsa, when he talks sometimes, I forget that someone else hasn't spoken. I do apologise. Go on.
That's no problem.
Take it away, man. Sorry.
You know, I'm a racing fanatic. I love racing sims. And after Drive Club VR, PlayStation VR was starving for racing games.
Well, it kind of still is, isn't it, really? People really want more driving games on there. And that's a lot of people end up moving on, so yeah.
Yeah, so I was wanting racing games so bad on PlayStation VR. I didn't care if it was a skateboard racing game. I wanted, you know. So
I was recently offered a game in wheelchairs, I think it was. Or was it a toilet?
I would have taken that too.
Yeah.
Tricycles, anything.
Yeah.
I got Wipeout at a PlayStation flash sale for $5.
Wow. Mate, you're the king of cheap. It's good.
Yeah, it wasn't a situation because I barely knew about Wipeout, but PlayStation can't stay out of my pockets because they're always having flash sales. You go in there, you see a game that would normally be $60, and you see it for like $10. Especially if a game that you were in the middle of the road about, you got to jump on it.
Yeah, they got a really good sale on now as well.
Yeah, so $5 for a VR game that's, you know, a full-blown AAA game as far as I'm concerned, and you get the VR part of it as well, that's a can't miss. So I had to jump on it, and it turned out to be a very good game.
Yeah.
And I did enjoy it. And in fact, I believe I played this game with Joystick Guru a couple of times. I had a pretty good time with him. So
yeah, man. He's very competitive, yeah, and I think because this does 8 players as well. Some games, like for example, Gran Turismo, you can't have more than 1 car on the track, or 2 now, isn't it? Because you've got a time trial mode, but you still can't have multiplayer. And yet this does. I think it's 6 to 8 players. I think it's 8 actually.
You know, and Wipeout was the game that made me have questions. Why don't we have more multiplayer racing games on the PlayStation format? And why can't they look this good?
Drive Club is the same. That's got multiplayer.
You know, but it's extremely blurry. That's my big issue with Drive Club.
Yeah.
Drive Club feels like you have a cardboard car strapped to your actual body, and then you're driving around. That's what Drive Club was.
There's also drifting issues in Drive Club because when I did the replay, I replayed a race that I ran, so it puts you in the passenger side, so you can see the driver of the car. But as the replay went on, the screen started to drift. Next thing you know, I was like turning sideways.
Right. Okay. So
I had to keep hitting the options button to recenter it to put me back facing the road instead of, you know, looking at grass and looking at stuff behind me.
Yeah, I mean personally, I love Drive Club.
That one though.
I do too, but yeah, Drive Club did have its issues, and Wipeout was definitely that game that looked great, it played great, and I didn't have any problems with it, and the multiplayer was appealing.
Yeah, it ticks all the boxes, absolutely. And as you said earlier, it was PS Plus. I believe it was last month. Wipeout Vacation was available. So, on to number 7, no surprise now, is No Man's Sky, which I was a little bit, when I sort of worked this all out with the Discord, with the community, with the Facebook group, some people have told me, like, they can't get out of this game. Like, this is their best VR game. So, and I can see why, don't get me wrong. Like, I remember the hype for this game. This was like a controversial game, wasn't it, back in the day? It got in the headlines for kind of all the wrong reasons. When I remember, I was following the hype, basically, and it sounded like kind of a dream game, like everything you'd ever want in a sci-fi genre type of game, and it obviously didn't deliver. And then I just literally forgot about it pretty much, and then it came to VR. So yeah, go on, Sales, take it away on this one quickly.
Well, I bought in the early version of the game and the flat screen game. And yeah, it was good. It was a chill out space type of thing, blah, blah, blah. Didn't live up to all the hype, blah, blah, blah. And then so many years later, they go, yeah, we're actually bringing the VR.
He had a hate campaign, didn't he, that guy? I'm sure he had a crazy...
They went through the ringer, but a lot of studios said to them, basically, step away, just step back. Don't try and fix this, because you can't fix this. And for the most part, and they are still working on it, they fixed everything and then plus.
Yeah, the updates for this game. Yeah.
So they fixed everything and then plus they did this. Which is that it works. That it even works, though, albeit on the PlayStation, it's still blurry.
It's blurry, but it's an achievement that it's on a PlayStation 4 in virtual reality.
God, yeah, that's what I say.
How do they do that?
The PC side, when you jump up and actually can see it a lot clearer, great. It still has its other issues. I think Nathie would probably agree in terms of like the UI is it's not fully fleshed out as a VR UI in terms of interacting with the menus, because it's very heavy on menu interaction. And I think it's the same with a lot of VR games, because there's a lot that's going on where developers aren't used to the virtual environment dealing with itinerary management and things like that in VR.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's the one failing. But to have everything that it's got, it's an entire universe.
Absolutely.
Eternity and an extra lifetime in that one game.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Lincoln? How are you doing about No Man's Sky? Because I know I think you've played it on both systems as well, haven't you? And you finally rested up on the PlayStation version, wasn't it, in the end?
Yeah, I think first of all, as far as both versions go, the PlayStation version was, it was blurry. I think they made improvements over time, and I think now, at least to me, the game looks clean enough that it doesn't matter to me which platform I play it on. Don't get me wrong. Oh, we got echo here.
Yeah, it's still there.
Okay.
It's gone now.
All right. The PC version is still noticeably cleaner, no question about that.
Yeah.
But as far as the impact this game had, this was the breakthrough moment for VR. When this game first came out, there was some issues with the launch, some problems, what have you. Over time, they worked it out with features, content, what have you, and the perception of this game went from negative to positive to being one of the most, I think, one of the more popular games on console.
Yeah, man. Yeah, people lost it. People lost it when they said this was coming to VR.
Right. That was the breakthrough moment for VR. Yeah. I said, this is the moment where the world knows that VR is here and that we're not going anywhere.
Sure.
And I think this was the moment where people who were only remotely interested in VR said, okay, now I'm curious. Now you got my attention. Now I might take a look at this VR thing somewhere down the road. So,
yeah.
So I think that coming to VR was huge. It was a big moment.
It was like some of you were saying, like Fortune Fire says it's still not perfect. Tommy the Cat in the VR hat says he's playing No Man's Sky while listening to this. So, yeah, as far as I think it's a game that everyone's got as well, because you could pick it up dirt cheap. I think I picked this up for like £7 or something. So it was. So Nathie, what do you think of No Man's Sky, man? Did you play it before? Did you play it before VR?
Yeah, I did play it before. I played it also in the. Well, I didn't buy it based on all the promises. I bought it after everything went like down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a blessing for the VR industry, for the community. Although I think the most of the hype was within the VR bubble and not so much outside of that. I
Yeah.
don't think, like, I don't have the sales numbers for any platforms, but I don't think there were that many people that actually bought a headset to just play this in VR.
Okay.
But for the community itself to spend time in was again like so nice to have because there are more games on every platform that are just arcadey games that are fun for like an hour or two, but nothing where you can like have 200-300 hours in and just like go wild with your imagination to a
Yeah.
certain degree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, and taking off and landing on another planet in this game is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
It never gets boring, man. Leaving, entering the atmosphere and stuff is superb. Right, on to number 6, which was the game that I kind of think sold the aim controller, which is Farpoint. This seemed to be the game that everyone needed. Do you know what I mean? Like when the aim controller come along and Farpoint appeared, I was like, dude, I've got to get this because I don't know. I mean, a lot of people jumped in for Firewall, but for me, it was definitely Farpoint. Like, I was surprised that not everyone got this. So yeah, did you play this, Nathie? Obviously.
Yeah. I mean, Farpoint was bundled with the aim controller. I think it was the first game
Yeah.
that you could play with that
Yeah,
controller.
Did Impulse Gear help design it as well? The guys who made
yes.
this game.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. And the bundle wasn't even that expensive, and yeah, the game itself was just great because it was the first time you could actually hold something in your hands and feel it.
Yeah.
This is something you can only do on PlayStation VR. There is no other platform that has some kind of type of gun that just works with, it's like, of course, you have third party, but nothing that is branded by the company
Yeah.
itself. So what they made fits with your PlayStation VR set, fits with your PlayStation. It's just a nice package in total.
And
And
you got the
again,
joysticks. You got the
yeah,
joysticks that sorely missed.
and even that the funny part is that you have the thumbstick on the back and all these buttons, and it just works. And it improved light tracking as well. Where first the moves were kind of floating around, drifting a bit, this was kind of solving that issue.
Yeah.
Of course, there was still a bit of drifting, but less than, and that's why in Firewall you just want to use that, gun.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Go on, Lincoln. Give it to us.
Farpoint, it is a first ballot Hall of Famer. This is the game that made me say, I'm here to stay with VR.
Yeah.
As Nathie said, this was the game that introduced the aim controller. And it's a great story. At the time that it came out, I felt like it had some of the best graphics on the PlayStation VR format. And at the time, it was probably the most immersive game that I've ever played due to the aim controller.
Yeah, man.
Looking like a regular piece of plastic, but as soon as you pull that headset on, the gun's right there in front of you, so detailed, the nicks and scrapes and scratches on the gun, so immersive in, and even though it was 1v1 when they brought player versus player to it, that was the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't draw up the words of how I felt when this game first came out. That's all I can really describe this game was. This was the game that said, I'm here. I've developed a passion for VR, and it had to be this game that started that.
Excellent. What about you, South?
Yeah, just 100% the having the aim controller with this, stepping into that whole FPS. This is the first for PlayStation VR. This is the first proper foray into FPS because of the aim controller. It's where you come in and you're going along and you're moving through the whole thing and you're aiming down a gun properly and all of this type of stuff. It works and hits all the right buttons in all the right ways. And it's the first point where I went, that is just, that just hands down knocked it out of the ballpark. Basically, it done a really good job. Though, of course, it also has another issue for the game for me that I get with all VR games is why did the first bit have to have so many bloody damn spiders in it?
Oh, you don't like spiders? I don't really like spiders, man.
I'm completely arachnophobic. I'm actually a lot less arachnophobic now than I was before VR.
Right.
I can actually deal with there being a spider in a room now without losing shit over it. It's so yeah. I've always considered that any game with spiders in it, developers need to have a tick button that says replace all spiders with teddy bears. Just because they really freak me out. Just the thought of spiders sends a chill down my spine. So obviously, Farpoint, where you've got spiders this size jumping at your face,
Yeah.
is immediately pretty intense. But still, great that I had a gun to shoot with.
Excellent. Yeah, man. So now we're on the top 5 now. In at number 5 is another game that I absolutely love, and I've played this probably more than most, and that would be Until Dawn: Rush of Blood. It kind of gave me the House of the Dead game that I was always after, and it still does. I still love playing this. I played it last night again. So yeah, give us some thoughts on this one, Lincoln.
Okay, Until Dawn, Rush of Blood.
Oh, you're scared, Games. You're scared, aren't you? You're a scaredy cat.
No.
Yeah, you are.
I am scared.
Yeah.
Until Dawn, Rush of Blood is the first game that I said I'll play horror games if they are done like this.
Okay.
Because you've got dual weapons. And my thought was simple: shoot them before they get me. Then I got a chance to not die or get scared or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So I really did like it. It was scary. Especially
terrifying.
if you miss a shot and they get through and get right in your face. That was kind of scary, but
even the intro's scary.
Yeah.
Even the intro's scary. Like this zombie thing comes out. What about you, Nathie? What do you think of this one?
I haven't played this one.
Ooh,
I haven't.
man. You'll have to check it out if you get possible. I don't know if it's ever been a PS Plus game though. This one, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It probably had. It should have been if it wasn't. I've got a feeling it had been, but
It's just weird if you compare this VR experience to the actual game. It's like what the heck happened there? Because some people thought it was like an extension of, but that's not the case. It's something different.
Yeah, it's completely different. It's because I think in the other one as well, which I thought was a really cool mechanic in like the third person actual game, is when a scare thing comes up and you've got a camera, it films you. So it films your reaction. So there was me and my wife playing it, and she had a cup of tea next to me, and it's the jumps happened, and it must be filming like a second before, because she's gone like that with her tea, nearly put it on me, and went like and caught it. And then like, when we finished playing, it basically said you can replay these moments and watch it again, and that was really cool. I thought that was a great mechanic because everyone loves watching something.
VR, man.
Yeah, that would have been absolutely fantastic to possibly record people's reactions while playing a game. Would be sensational. Like people would love to watch that. Go on, Sals.
Well, of course, this one, as I'm going to talk about everything else with it. Yeah, great, love it. Roller coasters, jump.
Yeah, the roller coasters.
Yeah, everything else like that. Again, this has spiders in it, so this made me live my worst fear in VR.
Superb.
That's the part with the spiders where they come out of the big spider and they actually completely cocoon you in spiders.
Yes, absolutely.
I have the footage on my channel, of course, of me curling up on my seat in a ball while screaming my head off.
Oh, man.
Because that happened. I literally screamed and I just go, oh, okay. And then I'm a little bit incoherent with myself and like, oh, what the... because that game literally made me live my worst nightmare.
That's why I love it, though. That's why I love that.
It's a hell of a hell of a video to watch back. Just like you're saying, because I was filming myself at the time, as we do with the streaming. So I did get to see that ultimate scare, me in my ultimate scare moment.
Excellent.
So,
Do you think you should be in number 5 at this chart? Yeah. Do you agree with that?
oh, I think it's a good safe bet for a lot of people. I think it works well for so many people.
And just to point out what I was saying earlier, this is a launch title.
Yeah.
And it's in a top 5 3 years later. So that's what I'm saying. There's like these sort of things. Like I think if you went on a flat game kind of thing, that wouldn't happen. The older games wouldn't necessarily be in the top 10. So like, I just find it really interesting.
One of these titles that a lot of people who have people around to their house and try out VR and are very mean-spirited put them into this game.
Yeah, man.
And that's why it gets up there in a top list, because there's a lot of people who'd love to go, here, try this out, and watch their friends go, ah!
Funny enough, DLG27 just said there's no better roller coaster experience in VR. So he actually has a good point. When I have someone round to play it, they are like feeling it, man. They feel that. Oh, Scooby David's going, 7 Degrees of Gaming, nice dude. Hello, Nat. Drew, how's it going, guys? Right, so number 4 is, I believe if I've made the video right, should be Blood and Truth, which once again it goes against what we said a minute ago of older games. I expected Blood and Truth to be in the top 5 because it was like a movie experience. I thought. Nathie, obviously you've played this one, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome because I played the London Heist, so this was very satisfying to jump into.
Yeah, man.
And I thought the on-rails part was not that annoying as some people thought it would be, because it was made in a way where you wouldn't miss out on anything. It was like scripted, but it made sense the way they made it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I thought it was when I played it first of all EGX, and I found out it was on the rails, and it looked pretty blurry as well because obviously it was. I guess it was just early gameplay. I was a bit like no, because whenever I saw a video of it, I didn't know it was on the rails. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I got a bit like...
they could have been more straight up with that for sure.
Yeah, it disappointed me a bit. I walked away because obviously I thought
I didn't know either. Yeah,
no.
I didn't know either.
Yeah, it shocked me. I was like, oh no, don't say that. And then you couldn't go back as well. Like if you went into cover somewhere ahead of you, you couldn't turn around and go back. So that was a bit gutting. Yeah, Sals, what do you think of this game?
I love the story. I love the engagement with it. If you want to be in a Hollywood blockbuster action film, you know, that has that sort of like London East End spy come gangster film quality, then this is it. It's like playing a bit of a Guy Ritchie film in VR, and I love that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Of course, the system, like you say, you can move sideways and then you can progress forwards, then move sideways.
Yeah, in and out of cover. That's right. You can move left and right in cover. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So I approached it from being in a living cinematic experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it lived up to that side for me. It made me feel like I was immersed in that, and that story and everything going along was great. And so I love it.
Yeah, same dude. I done this game in one live stream. I couldn't stop playing it. I was like, it felt like I was in a really good film. What about you, Lincoln?
This game, Sony delivered. When the PlayStation VR was in its infancy, there was 2 games that I said we got to have a sequel to them, and that was Batman Arkham and London Heist. So we got to have a sequel to this game.
Yeah.
And they delivered. And when this game came out, when I played it, I felt like this game should have been considered for VR Game of the Year, even if it was an on-rail game. I think it had great graphics. I think it was really fun. I think it had an incredible soundtrack.
It does.
There was a part in the when I was inside that nightclub, you know, and that song was like, "I'm coming for you, I'm coming for you." Man, I love that song. I've even gone back and just listened to the soundtrack a couple of times without playing the game.
Yeah, there's some great grime in there, like in UK grime music in there. I love it. It is good.
Yeah, I love that. So, an incredible game. I think Sony delivered with that game. I think that game was worth every penny to me.
Absolutely. So, moving on to number 3, which I was also... I don't know, this is getting weird now, but it's Beat Saber. which I believe is the best-selling VR game currently. Is that right? Has it sold more units than any other VR game?
Still?
I believe it is the only VR game that sold over 1 million copies. It is number one. I did see an article just a couple of days ago that it's number one on the PlayStation VR charts for the third month in a row, and it has hit number one several times this year.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and with good reason. And I think everyone's got something to look forward to with the 360 mode, which I read on a tweet. They are kind of going to bring to PSVR as like a 180, 120 kind of mode, was something they tweeted out, which is awesome because I played the 360 and funny enough, exactly what Nathie said when I saw him at Gamescom. I said, I just played 360 and he went, but it's kind of more like 180. And I was like, he is quite right. Yeah, I think I remember turning around a couple of times, but mainly it was all in front of you. So it would work on PlayStation. There's no reason I don't think that could work. So, so tell me about your experience with Beat Saber, man, because you know the people anyway.
What do you mean, me?
Yeah, sorry, Nathie, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Beat Saber. Yeah, what do I need to say about this title? You know, it's the flagship of virtual reality in general. And as you said, like this 180 mode is something fun to look forward to. It spices up Beat Saber a bit, because if you haven't been playing it for a while, then this is welcome, because it allows, so many, like, especially for PlayStation VR where modding is not a thing. 180 mode is definitely gonna, be some fresh air. Besides that, I have nothing to say about Beat Saber.
Do you think, like, in a way, for content creators, this is one of those games that this is another one, like I said about Superhot, I saw this a lot on YouTube. Like, it was massively covered.
Mixed reality live streams.
Yeah,
for sure. But on the other side, I mean, Beat Saber is playing songs that are copyrighted. So it's on one side, I agree. On the other side, that's not really the case. But it depends on what you do. If you are a Twitch streamer, then Beat Saber can definitely help you out. For YouTube, I don't know. It depends. Some there are YouTubers that have like huge channels nowadays based on only Beat Saber. But yeah, it's impressive. It's such a small team too. It's like under 10 people that made this game, and they're still improving it. They still think it's not the best game, and there's still a lot to work on. So I like that attitude in a way. And it was also great to see them this year at Oculus Connect have their moment of fame, coming up stage and get to like plug themselves, because usually you see Jaroslav Beck as like the front man, but the people behind him are the ones that also make a lot of the magic happen.
Yeah.
Besides the music, the mechanics and everything. So, yeah.
Awesome. What about yourselves? I know that's actually how I met you, was playing Beat Saber.
Yeah. I was of course, I like Beat Saber. I don't play it as much as I need to again. I need to play it a lot more. I think the hot summer stopped me a lot on that. So I need to get in shape, basically. And Beat Saber definitely works up a sweat. I think the appeal of Beat Saber is that it's really so simple. It just plays so simple. And it appeals to a lot of people that are not gamers, are not interested remotely in the technology of VR, but it appeals to a lot of people that just go, oh, that looks like fun, if they're shown it in the right way. Like, and people sink literally thousands of hours in mastering it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has a progression system that you can, not play anywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it takes only like, I think it takes around like 10 minutes to get the point of how you play it, and then it's like, oh wait, so I know how to actually get to the point where I'm super good at it. It's clear how to do it, but you just know it takes a lot of time. So it's and that makes it like instantly fun to play. It's no secret how you become better. That's not really a secret.
Sorry, my mic was muted then. I was basically saying this game is one of those games that He's easy to pick up and play as an entry point, but it's got that difficulty thing where it's hard to master. So it'll keep people coming back and playing it for a long period of time. I do apologise. That was I basically wanted to cough, and if I cough, Salsa can't talk. So Lincoln, how you feeling about Beat Saber, man?
Severely underrated, even though it is probably the biggest game on VR.
You think it's underrated?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's underrated when people first see it, where they think it's so simple and don't think they'll be interested in the game.
Oh, okay.
But then again, once they play the game for a few minutes and they understand how the game is, then they get entrenched in it, especially if they're playing the game to a song that they really, really like. And that's what keeps the game fresh. And to touch on the subject that Nathie was speaking of about these copyright situations, both both YouTube and Twitch has algorithms that deal with people streaming copyrighted music. In the case of YouTube, it depends on the song. So you could get blocked regionally or globally. In the case of Twitch,
they mute segments out, don't they, after the live stream?
Yeah, they just mute you out, probably long enough for you to get through the song. But if you come back with another song that's copyrighted, then you're going to get muted again. So I was doing a show that I called the Friday Night Jam, where on Friday nights I was playing my favorite R&B and hip hop songs on Beat Saber. Nice. And when I did the show on Twitch, half of it got muted out. When I did it on YouTube, it was blocked. It was blocked regionally.
Yeah,
there was another one that they got blocked globally.
Yeah, I was playing. How many copyrights could I pick up playing Beat?
Oh, mate.
So, my record is 36 copyright calls for music, blocked worldwide twice for the same song, and blocked through I think about 7 different regions.
Yeah, and another thing about Beat Saber, you know, I've worked out off and on for about I think about 27 years off and on. I've worked out, and as far as the cardio part of it, going into a gym and getting on a treadmill is boring.
Yeah.
And not only that, if you walk, you can walk on a treadmill for about 3 hours and only burn 4 calories. You know, Beat Saber can be really intense and can make you burn a lot of calories up. Whenever people come to me and say, what can I do to lose weight, or what can I do for cardio or something like that, I pull out my phone and I show them Beat Saber.
Oh, man, that's cool. There's a lot of success stories of people losing weight using Beat Saber.
Absolutely. Yeah. I use it for my cardio because, you know, for those who know that I have diabetes, it is imperative that at the very least, I at least get my cardio in. So I still play Beat Saber at least twice a week, whether or not that I'm streaming it, because I'm just not going to pack my bags and go sit in the gym for 3 hours, you know, bored to death. Beat Saber gives you that cardio and fun at the same time. You have so much fun with the game, you forget how long you've been playing it. Absolutely.
All right, cool. So on to number 2, which I thought was going to be number 1, is Astro Bot. Yeah, I thought it was going to be number 1 personally, just because it's got a wider appeal than what is number 1 in my list. So yeah, and I remember I watched Nathie's video on Astro Bot, and you absolutely loved this, didn't you? It's amazing.
It's my favorite game on the platform.
Yeah,
it's great. It's awesome.
Absolutely, and I think it reminds everyone of Super Mario 64 kind of thing, and they were very clever with their interaction in the game, headbutting boards. Just like we were saying about a flat game coming to VR, when a game is built in VR, that interaction's there. You know, it's built in there already. You see it on the video now, the controller turns into like shurikens. All these little things that make this, for me, a truly magical game. Yeah, I absolutely love this. It's beautiful, and I love playing it. It made me smile. Getting that water in your face. I can't remember what level it was, and it reminded me of Sonic Adventure on Dreamcast, where you're going through the boat, or the dolphins bring you down, and then there was waves hitting my face, dude, and I was like, this is bloody amazing. How have they, graphically as well, again, when anyone ever doubts PlayStation graphics, do you know what I'm saying? This is a good one. So Lincoln, how are you feeling about Astro Bot? You're muted, dude.
Sorry
Nice.
about that.
That's what I done earlier.
I thought Astro Bot was a breath of fresh air. A lot of fun, and another game that I thought was underrated.
Yeah.
When I first saw the game, I was like, okay, a platformer. And I don't know. Again, when I got the game, it was part of that Moss bundle that I bought when I bought my second PlayStation VR headset. So when I played the game, I said, okay, I can see why the critics were saying that this is VR's version of Mario World.
Yeah.
Or, one of the Mario games. And I felt like this game was so good that this is going to be PlayStation VR's mascot, the Astro Bot.
It kind of was.
Yeah.
I
So
felt.
when you think of PlayStation VR, that's going to be one of the first things one of the first games that come to mind.
So one of the things I noticed when playing it, EGX, was the symbols are PlayStation symbols. If you get hurt or you hit anything or jump on its head, PlayStation symbols burst out of stuff. And that's what I was thinking. Are they going to push this as like the Crash Bandicoot of PlayStation? Do you know what I mean? Like, is that where that is going?
Yeah, that's definitely the way I felt about the game.
Well, that's what VR needs, right? I think every platform right now lacks certain characters that kind of make VR. Of course, it's a very new market, but we don't have that many characters yet that you could identify yourselves with. It's like, oh, PlayStation VR has these kind of games and characters, and so that for me was like, for PC was like Lucky from Lucky Still. Was like, wow, this could be one of the characters. In the end, it kind of died off, but yeah, Astro Bot, like this little man, could be the mascot in a way. For sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Did he first come along in Playroom VR?
Yeah.
Playroom VR.
Yeah.
This is obviously based off the back of Playroom VR minigame. And then it's fleshed out as a full game because everybody loved the game in Playroom so much.
Yeah.
And said, why isn't this a full game? I want this to be a full game. And thankfully, Pan Studios did actually make it as a full game. And it works so well. And it's one of these illustrations that you can't define, or we are finding that VR can't be squashed down to what people think VR should be. Because when you come along to VR, everybody goes, oh, so it's all first person. It's all you inside the person. It's all you in this. And a lot of people actually end up with a lot of preconceptions of what a VR game should be, or what VR is or isn't. And this is one of the things that when you see on a screen, okay, it looks like any other platformer. When you play it in VR for yourself, that's where it truly lives. It still has appeal to a lot of people. Flat screen game, just because it looks like a really well done flat screen game. But when you actually are in there in VR, it adds that extra elements to the flat screen genre that haven't been there before. And that's one of the things that really does make it a standout title.
Absolutely. There's a demo of it as well available. If anyone hasn't checked it out, there is a demo of Astro Bot on the store. Definitely download this. Experience it. Top-notch animations, colours, everything in here is superb. So, to number one, finally. And yeah, it is Resident Evil 7. It is the game that whenever I play it, the comments will come, when is this coming to PC? So, that people want it really badly on PC VR. What was your experience with this one, Salsa?
Well, I had to have a drink while playing this, first of all. Basically.
Yeah, it's bloody scary.
Like I say, I'm not a big horror fan. And I played this when I had some time, different things, and a bit more space, and blah blah blah. And I don't swear much on my streams as well. I try to keep things PC on my own channel. And with this game, I said, right, immediately, I'm having a drink, I'm doing this. I'm sorry, people, I might swear.
Yeah.
And I did. Because, had a few moments where but it's a big tension builder. What they've done here is pretty damn incredible. Yeah.
Why haven't they done it again? That's what I don't get. That's what I don't get. Why haven't they done any more of this? What about you, Nathie? What do you think of this one?
Yeah, like I haven't played that one. I haven't played that one. I just don't like scary titles.
Yeah.
I don't like but it's funny that this game is also one of those classics, but it's just a game you play with a controller. But it's still very good.
Yeah, it's weird how that works. You are absolutely right.
It is weird. Because nowadays people would say like, yeah, but that's not immersive enough.
Yeah, you are right.
That feels weird, but it's still something that is very welcoming. And so many people are so jealous of this title still being on PlayStation. They've been begging it to come to other platforms.
Yeah. Yeah, I just remember the one thing about this game, and I say it all the time, is that I've never played a game where I felt so unsafe, like, until I got the shotgun. I got the shotgun, and I was like, I'm ready. I'm fine. I can walk around this corner.
Yeah.
I'm not panicking. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It's funny you should touch on the DualShock thing. Because in a way, yeah, people would normally say now, what, this has got move support? Like, no one says that about this game, hardly. They're just happy that it works as well as it does, because it's head aiming with the gun and stuff. It does work really well. They did absolutely smash this. Lincoln, like, you've played this, dude?
Yes, I do have this game.
Excellent.
This game is, how do I describe it? Naturally, it's scary.
Yeah.
And have any of you seen the demo when the PlayStation demo disc came out? There's a short clip of this game where you're sitting in a chair and the person in this chair, who was it? The guy that was with you got decapitated.
Yeah.
His head came rolling across the floor.
Yeah. I was going to mention that, dude.
That's the clip that I show to people.
Really?
When I want to show them how immersive and how scary VR can be.
Yeah.
So that's the clip that I show them.
My missus' sister, that's her first VR experience. So she loves horror films, yeah? And I said to her, I've got this new thing, virtual reality, blah, blah, blah. I said, do you want to try it? She went, yeah. And I was going to put her in the ocean shark experience, but not with the shark. That's what I normally do. So people can experience, like, walking around in VR and stuff. And she said, no, I'm fine. Like, love scary films. I put her in it. Dude, she's never put a headset on since. Like, it terrified her that much. She was like, you never explained it to me. I think she thought it was going to be like a 3D film or something. Yeah. I don't know.
People think that. Resident Evil is that game that scared me and disgusted me at the same time.
Yeah.
It scared me because you're trying to help that girl get out of there, but, she, like, changing like the weather on you. Next 1 minute, she turned into a demon.
Spoilers. Keep rid of all the spoilers.
Yeah, I won't go any further than that. But I can also say this about the game without it being any spoilers. The part that left me disgusted was that house. It was absolutely filthy.
Oh, you
carcasses laying everywhere. A dead crow in the microwave. It was just dirty. The place was just filthy, and I was like, this crap is just too real. Food sitting on the table with maggots and worms and stuff coming out of it. It was just like, it was so gross, but so real.
Yeah. That does hit people. Like, they are disgusted by this game. You're absolutely right. It's funny you should say that. It's another element of this game that I wouldn't have thought about, but I know I've heard someone say it. So yeah, you're right. Like, there's a bit in this video where you see the centipedes coming out of the walls and stuff, and you're going through that corridor. Yeah, that does people, man. That does people, because it feels creepy, and it's horrible. So yeah,
it's proper hairs standing up in the back of your neck moment as you're going through different parts, and you've got like say centipedes going past your eyeballs as you're trying to stay quiet and hide away from things, and it's the suspense builder as well. It's not just a straight up shock horror.
Yeah.
It's the suspense. It's the walking over floorboards, with the creaking of the house, with the blowing of the wind, with the sudden sort of like hearing someone breathing around a corner, of hearing someone's footsteps on the floor below you, of all of that type of thing all combined in, that really do make this game what it is.
Yeah, number
Basically.
one. Number one, people's choice.
I would also like to add that this is also a game that one of the reasons that made it so scary is that you couldn't take 2 steps without turning around to make sure something was behind you. Every time you opened the door, you had to open it slowly and look around before you go in there.
True.
It was like, it was tense. You cannot relax playing this game.
I've completed this game 4 or 5 times.
Wow.
I love it. Yeah, I absolutely love it. I love this game. It is fantastic. I don't really get bored. I like to leave it a good minute. Like this live stream I'll be doing every other weekend is because I've not played it for 8 months, 9 months, and I try and wait for it to sort of age in my memory. Nathie, do you need to get gone, dude? Was you saying earlier?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Like, how long have we been going?
Well, we've been going
It's
2.5 hours. So
it's crazy. I said you were going to try to put it like under 2 hours, but I think we failed.
I think we failed, man. Yeah.
We did. But we got
close.
Number one.
Yeah, no worries. All right, well, we might as well call it a wrap there, unless you guys wanted to talk about. I know you don't, Nathie. You said you had to get going, so at some point. But yeah, man. Thank you ever so much for being here, dude. Thank you for doing this top 20 with us. Really appreciate it.
It was
man.
a pleasure. It was a pleasure.
Sure, thanks
being
for
on the
having me.
panel with you.
Yeah, man. Cheers, dude. Thank you.
Yeah. So can I just leave or?
Yeah. Just Skype.
Oh,
off.
okay.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not sure how this whole thing works. Okay, well.
Yeah.
See you later. Bye-bye.
See you later, man.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Cool. So, yeah, Nathie joined us today. That was unreal, man. I thought that would be really cool to get him in here. That was really nice of him. And I know he's a massive fan of PlayStation VR. And as he said, he covers multiple headsets. So, yeah, it was cool. How can I get rid of him? Geez, that one. Excellent stuff. So, yeah, unless the only other thing I wanted to sort of touch about was these patterns, which I think you guys have been through already. We've been through the patterns. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Hold on. Stop. You got no sound. Try that again.
Sounds.
Yeah, no worries. I think I've realised. No, it's not you. Yeah, I know. Sorry. What it was is Nathie had the main audio link in for all of you because I literally picked one or it's going to echo. So yeah, sorry, dude. Yeah. So basically, I was saying about the patterns and stuff you wanted to talk about because we had recent patterns announced, and some people got excited about them. I wasn't too sure about what to say about them because the fact they mentioned a wireless headset was a little bit off-putting for me personally. I was a little bit like, I don't know if that's going to happen. To keep the on cost.
Let's.
No worries, Mick. Yeah, go on. Sorry, dude.
Yeah. No, I think there's a few people thinking that we're just completely shutting the stream down and the pod off because Nathie's gone because he is doing some other things as well.
Yeah.
Like we say, it's a pleasure to have had Nathie here. He's a busy guy, as we can all appreciate. Just a quick thing on this, to go back because I was muted. Patents are patents, and basically sometimes big companies put patents out there to kind of stick a pin through stuff and say, we're going to own this real estate. Probably. Maybe. Could be. And other times they put it in there because they are going to. So you never quite know whether it's going to be something that's going to become real, partly real, or completely nothing.
Yeah.
And that's a part of it. What I have found interesting is you're going on about the wireless technology, but first I think we should address the big thing with PlayStation, and that's tracking.
Okay.
Because this pattern included stuff for camera on the headset, and a rear-facing camera.
Yeah.
Suggests inside-out tracking.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be inside out. There's no
that, but they also include for the camera.
Yes.
The original camera there.
Is it the original camera, or is it like a new style Kinect camera? Because then you can get finger tracking and all sorts of stuff, you know?
So it looks like that camera.
Okay.
So, I want to go with that first. So that deals with head tracking as inside out. It also deals with outside in. Which means if you've got your original PlayStation, like we do, it allows them to say, okay, you've got your PSVR 1, there's one form of tracking for you, you still got that, that's still working, that's good.
Yeah.
People that come along to the PSVR 2 that could have the inside out bit, it could also still track that to add extra on there for accuracy.
Right.
So that's all good like that as well. So it still have lights on the outside as we're used to with the PSVR.
Yeah.
And it does look like that in the designs.
Ah, cool.
But it can do that. Now, the other thing that it also says about is controllers.
Yeah.
It says the controllers themselves have cameras built onto the controllers.
Okay.
So if the controllers themselves have cameras, are they doing inside-out tracking for the controllers?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
So if that's the way they're doing it, then you've got 360 because the pattern only had two cameras on the front. As we know, two cameras for tracking hand motion doesn't always work well because you have that part where it can't see your hands in behind you, or it can't see or work out. So if they are using an external camera, inside out for the head tracking and external, and on hand tracking and external in combination to gain accuracy, that for me is what I think personally.
But what about, I mean, when it comes to price? I mean, what about dude, I know what you're saying, yeah, forget the tracking for a second. A wireless version. That's what I want to get down to. Do you actually think the PSVR 2 will be wireless?
I think that's pushing it.
Lincoln?
That is a really tough one because for starters, I got more caught up in the timing of this patent coming out rather than the patent itself because it only came out a couple of days after the Microsoft patent was revealed for their version of VR.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, here we go again. This console crap is about to spill over to VR. You know, it's like, because Sony has done that. They've been playing chess with Microsoft. Every time Microsoft comes out with some kind of announcement, Sony comes out with an announcement that trumps it. Go back to the Inside Xbox episode that Microsoft was about to have. Sony shot all of that down when Mark Cerny came out with that interview about what they expect out of the PS5 with the solid state drive and the current PSVR being compatible with the PS5. He said they shot down everything that Inside Xbox was about to be about.
So you're saying that they basically held back on the patent leak, Xbox come on to get some light, and then Sony went.
Yeah, I think it was a possible calculated leak by Sony because that was happening with the flat screen games. You had Sea of Thieves coming out. Everybody got hyped with that, and Sony shot them full of holes by showing gameplay of God of War. This has been going on this whole generation.
Yeah, but they pretend to be friends.
They got excited about State of Decay. Sony shot them full of holes with the Spider-Man, gameplay.
That's business, though. That's business.
I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
So I wasn't upset by the patent. I just found it to be a coincidence that this patent got revealed a couple of days after the Microsoft patent got revealed. Now, what really got my attention about it was the headset itself looked a lot like the current PSVR headset.
Yeah.
And it had more lights on the front and more lights in the back. And that was a concern of mine because I said, one thing that's got to happen next generation is that camera's got to go. Because I think the camera is a big cause of a lot of tracking and drifting issues that we're experiencing with the current PSVR.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't really dawn on me that there might be cameras in the back of this headset, but Also, another reason why I didn't think much of it is because we've already seen a patent suggesting that Sony might be coming out with a wireless headset because we've seen the patent for that battery pack in the back of it, suggesting that it might be wireless. We've also seen patents that suggest that Sony could wirelessly connect two headsets to one console simultaneously, allowing local multiplayer. So looking at that patent, to me, it was like, if they do this, this might be going backwards a little bit. So
yeah, it's funny enough. Tantrum brings up one of the things that is the reason that I don't think it'll be wireless. He's but how good is the wireless adapter from, say, the Vive adapter? Now, I personally haven't used it, and as far as I know, it works very well. It's like 270 odd quid though, just that adapter. That's the thing. That's no controllers. There's no headset. Just that adapter is £278, isn't it?
Yeah, it's around that sort of 200 something odd mark. The wireless adapter thing is basically that it's its own separate little network. That's what it's about, because basically you're sending a high rate of information, a lot of information at high rates. It needs to be responsive. So
one of the things. Go ahead, so I'm sorry.
It's just a different type of network.
Have you got one?
Different network. I don't have used one, but it just literally is a separate network that is very high speed, very intense high speed.
Yeah.
That is purpose made for just doing that. It's very limited range as well, though.
Yeah. So I've used wireless doing location-based VR. Me and this guy done location, and it is obviously both wireless. And yeah, it works fantastically. Tantrum. It was as normal as you'd expect. You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. Go on, Lincoln. Sorry, you was going to say something.
What I wanted to say is what we might see in terms of what kind of headset we might see. What we might see depends on what route Sony wants to take. Because if they want to take the Microsoft route, that latest patent could be what we see. Because Microsoft is a company that wants to turn high profits without investing a lot of money into the product. And I think that shows in some of these games that they have right now, with the games like Sea of Thieves and State of Decay, games that look like they don't cost a lot to develop these games, but they can try to turn a high profit off of these games. I think if Sony goes the Microsoft route, they're going to take shortcuts. They're going to keep that camera. They'll probably keep the bases of the current headset, throw a few more lights on there and a few more gimmicks on there. But the Sony that we know right now is a Sony that takes chances, and they spend money taking those chances. Because if you want to look at it like that, the current PSVR was a gamble. This wasn't, because of how niche it was. Because the Sony has taken several chances in the past with, PlayStation TV. There was a device where you could connect to your current PS4 and kind of like Bluetooth onto another TV. It was almost like having a second PlayStation, through Bluetooth. Then Sony has taken a lot of chances on a lot of gadgets. So if that's the Sony that we get, they're going to take some more chances with the next generation of VR. We're going to see some features that's not on current VR headsets. But if they're worried about turning profits and not wanting to put money back into the product, they're going to take shortcuts, and the next headset is probably going to be a lot like what we got right now with a few tweaks.
I don't care if it's wireless, by the way. I'll be happy with a Rift S style headset. It wouldn't bother me. I don't expect it to be wireless. Dude, if it is wireless, that is insane. But I don't expect it. That's not what I think will happen.
When it comes to this next generation, I don't think getting as soon as obviously the PS5. I think it's going to be at least a year after the release of PS5 until we see a PSVR 2. Like I say, why I preference this with patents are patents, and sometimes they may lead to something real, and other times they're just nothing.
Yeah.
And it's the same with Microsoft. Microsoft and companies like this habitually make patents. They roll them out constantly to cover their backs in the case of if they do step in that direction.
Yeah.
A lot of the time it is them covering their backs for if they do roll in that direction. At the moment, I still don't see Microsoft rolling down that direction. I do see some of the ideas possibly of things coming up from Sony and being able to use some of the technology they've already got, like I said, with having both the best of inside-out tracking and outside-in tracking. Try to mix those two in as cheap as format as possible, because the cameras in these are a lot cheaper to make than you would get differently. It could be really effective at really quite low costs. It's the same as what's coming on with the PS5. A lot of people are going, "Oh, it's got an SSD in it. That's going to explode the price." But it's not. I mean, SSDs at the minute are going a lot cheaper than they used to. And you're talking about PCI Express SSD to be in the PS5, and you can get a terabyte's worth of M.2 PCI Express SSD as fast as you like from Samsung for 130 quid.
Yeah.
Retail.
Yeah.
Now, Sony, the company, they don't pay retail prices on this. They're buying in bulk.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
So that is a lot less expensive than you'd think.
Yeah.
It is still, of course, a big portion of the build cost of a system, comparatively speaking, but it's not as high as you would think. But it's gaining, what it gains is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
You know, what it gains is going to be absolutely a big thing. They already showed that with a dev kit, saying, okay, here's us swinging through the Spider-Man swinging down the streets of New York. Here's that same thing loading in, because they did it at the load speed that the hard disk could take.
Yeah.
So it was like, here's on a PS4 hard disk. Here it is, the same thing with all the frame limiters taken off, just for how fast we can stream the content in. And it's a gigantic leap. The other thing you'd see is game sizes shrinking and different things like that, because at the moment, the amount of space that's occupied in your hard disk is a lot more, because they put copies, same parts of the game as copies throughout the disk, so that the disk interaction is smaller and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, it's all different things.
The thing is, though, the PlayStation VR is forwards compatible with PSVR 5, with PS5. So we're laughing already. Really, we're already out of the box. We're gonna have
the big issue for PlayStation VR at the moment. It's 3 years old, and although something like Wipeout, which is on our list, and we all said earlier, is a prime example of the best that headset can deliver in terms of visuals. But, would you agree?
Do you think? No, I don't. I think the PlayStation VR, when I play games like Astro Bot, Wipeout, I think it's the PlayStation that holds it back. I'd be quite happy if you.
No,
do you know what I'm saying?
I mean, but those games are really, really pin sharp.
Yeah, that's what I'm. Yeah.
They're absolutely pin
So
sharp.
the headset's fine.
All the other games, because they aren't that pin sharp, it's not the headset, it's the PS5.
I would love to see the tracking improved though a little bit. Like yesterday when I was playing Superhot,
Big point.
that was a bit of an issue. That was like controllers were like moving around and floating around and stuff, and like little things like that are a little bit like, oh man. But yeah.
Yeah. The limitations of the current console is one of the reasons why it's like the PS5. I don't have that much interest in the console for the flat screen games. I'm interested in it for the VR aspect of it, because right now there's a lot of limitations that prevent us from getting some games that are on PC. Yeah. And I think the power of the PS5, the rumored power of it, I think when somebody develops a game, they'll be able to put it out on both PC and PS5 at the same time, instead of having to find a way to water it down for the PlayStation version or just having to skip it altogether. Because one thing the PlayStation VR, in my opinion, is sorely lacking is multiplayer games. I don't know if that's because of hardware limitations or not. I don't know why, but that's something we're sorely lacking, and I'm hoping that's something that's going to be resolved when the PS5 come out, with GT Sport being the main culprit of that. That is the game that I gotta have a VR multiplayer on it, no exceptions.
Yeah, and I don't. When you play games like Wipeout and stuff, it can be done. I don't really understand why some of these games aren't featuring multiplayer.
It's quite simple. If you well, simple. It's not simple. Nothing is ever that simple. When you go to something like a sim game in particular, like GT Sport, as soon as you add multiple cars in there and different things like that, where it's got to calculate how the cars are doing, it takes a hit onto the CPU as well as the GPU. So as soon as you add more cars onto a track, the CPU is taking a lot more of a hit. I reckon if you could see the statistics of what is happening in GT Sport between the GPU working and the CPU working, you would see that the CPU is the bit that gets swamped.
Yeah.
VR gaming, because not only does the CPU actually say to the graphics part, I need you to draw this, I need you to draw that, I need you to draw that, I need you to draw that. It's also doing the work on saying cars act like this when it's going into the corner. The rebound on the springs goes like
yeah.
all this stuff, that all happens on the CPU side. So it all loads it down.
Yeah, for sure. Got it, son.
See you, Keith. So that is where it's going to happen, and that's where the PS Pro, that was capable of running a multiplayer version of GT Sport, had the big impact over what is possible on an OG PS4.
Yeah.
And because they have that policy of, it's a, for better or worse, in this case, worse, they want to make sure that everybody gets that same playing experience. There are no exclusive modes for PS Pro only.
Yeah.
This is where the PS5 is going to come along with that extra power. I mean, it's a Ryzen 8-core Zen 2 architecture in there, so it's, that's pretty good stuff. I know it sounds wonderful when you say it as well, and most people don't care what it means, because it ultimately doesn't mean much until it does something for your headset. And that's what it's going to bring. It will hopefully up that aspect of it, where our VR, for an experience, a headset like a PSVR, finally gets the right level of stuff.
Yeah, man. Well, unless you guys have got anything to add, I'd like to call it a night on this show, man, because it's we've hit the 3-hour mark nearly again. We are 10 minutes away from hitting the golden 3 hours. It's like,
we've got one other big thing to mention.
Have we?
Yeah.
Have I missed it?
Yeah, it's a big important thing.
What do you mean? What am I wearing? I've got a VR Link shirt, dude, and I've got the.
Well, that's one other big thing too.
Oh right, okay.
Remember?
Oh, you want about the PS5 and the haptic feedback? Ed Spears, how's it going? Oh, cheers, Max.
That's another thing to mention, but not the other big thing that we was going to mention.
Okay.
We was going to mention about the podcast audio only version, which should be available after this week.
There you go. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, it's on the website. Are we renaming the website? Are we changing the web?
The main website there will stay the same, apart from a couple of little updates and changes. I'm just going to put a quick link into where our main podcast will run from, but it will be available on Spotify, and it will be available on SoundCloud, hopefully, and it will be available on this link that's just gone into the chat.
This is ideal for people who like go fishing or something, because imagine having 3 hours. Like I go to the gym for like an hour and a half. there's podcasts like they don't go on for this long, man. Like on a live cast, they shouldn't do. I don't know how it happens.
So, you know, do your workout. You pause it there. You've gone, had your shower, blah blah blah. Get into your car to go home. Play the rest on the car on the way home.
Oh, excellent stuff. So yeah, there's the news. And also, we're going to be at EGX. I know Lincoln won't be there because he's not even in the country. But cheers, Troy. Thank you, Ark Rambo. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I really appreciate it. I know the show does go on sometimes. I do apologise. I did want to try and make this tight. I did want to try and get a 2-hour mark on this. It didn't happen. So yeah, that's it's just one of them. But we are going to be at EGX. I'm there personally on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. What about you, South?
I'm only there on Saturday, so from about 11 o'clock onwards.
And that's there on the Sunday, I believe.
Yeah, that's there on the Sunday.
Okay, so yeah, we'll all be there at some point at EGX. Hopefully you can come up. Please say hello. That'd be nice, because sometimes I get messages afterwards. People have seen me and said they saw me, and I just think, well, we could have said hello to one another, you know. It's all good.
But if people like googly eyes and they manage to come and see me, then I can give them some nice little googly eyes.
There you go, free googly eyes as well. Should I go to EG? Should I go EGX? Tom and the Cat, dude. If you like video games, it's a definite, because I don't know how big the VR game is there. They've never been that big. They did do one last year. This is the biggest event. So there's 2 EGXs. There's one called Rezzed, which is like indie stuff, and then there's the main event. And the main event last year was at the NEC, and there was VR there, and PlayStation VR, and they done a massively great job. There was some PC VR there. Last time I went, I was only doing PlayStation VR, so it'd be interesting to see what I get to look at and film doing PC this time. But yeah, I love gaming, so I'll be there.
Ham as well. If you haven't been to EGX before, just for anybody who's doing the VR stuff and Sony's VR stuff in particular, for the PlayStation VR, Iron Man is definitely going to be popular. The way they work is on a queue system that you have the queues open twice a day. You go, queue, get a time slot, and then they run through the time slots. So actually, I think it's 3 times a day they open up queues, isn't it? They have like a before open, 11 open, and then the midday thing.
Yeah, they do it. Yeah, so you book yourself in per slot, per time. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you don't just have a massive queue for the whole day.
Exactly. So you'll have the queues open at certain times. You go, book your slot, and then you come back for your time slot to play your game.
Excellent stuff. Yeah, man. So, yeah, and obviously see you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for some live streams. As always, doing our thing over here. Lincoln, thank you for joining me, man. You got anything planned this week you want to do, or do you know what you're doing?
Probably put some more time into Asgard's Wrath. But other than that, I just want to say happy birthday, PlayStation VR. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't be where we're at right now.
That's right, man. That's the whole point of this. It's worth saying something about. Do you know what I mean? Like, they've done so well, and they are the reason that I'm here. So, but on a personal level, that's why I wanted to be here. So, but yeah, Nat can't be. He's in the chat though. 7 Degrees of Gaming. Please remember to check him out. I know Nathie's not here now, but thank him for being here today. He's one of the biggest, if not the most well-known virtuality YouTubers, and obviously in that term he's also a supporter of virtuality massively. So yeah, big thanks to him for being here. Salsa, cheers, man. Thank you, dude. I'll put all the guys' links in the videos if you haven't been there. So yeah, take care, everyone. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Look after yourselves. Have a great week. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you all soon.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
See you, everybody.
Bye 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 bye.